Pokemon will be starting in just a moment. We're going to start this down in typical VGC fashion. So hang tight, we're going to count together and set this wheel in motion. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's battle!
The reaction seems to be heightening the Pokemon's concentration.
Masayuki Tsuji. know who.
The battle begins. The red corner makes the first attack. A small hit. A fierce blow. Solid hit.
and Tatsuku Manu. What a wonderful, wonderful match. Komayuki, I only have one thing to say to you. Yeah!
Yasuki is the trainer on the top. Ray Rizzo from the United States.
ブラードのプロテクティ戦これに関して手線を止めるいや猫してない
Yasuki has substituted his loop for a delightful step down.
これは知らない
And the trick room is involved.
Which one is the Japanese one? Is the top one or bottom one?
The slowest Pokemon will move first.
ロックサイドおーっしゃーでもこれルギアに当たる
And Ray sends a rock slide Yasuki's way.
壊れるか壊れるわな
Yasuki's Lugia will now take the full
こ
brunt
のエリアが
of that damage.
ライトスクリーン
A light streak over from Mr. Rizzo.
ミスが落ちないグラスの急所いやこれでもね逆に考えるんだルギアが後出しで身代わりを残せる可能性があるこれ集中して
And it's a super effective hit.
プリザードおっしゃーそれ当てたね氷はしないけど
And a
落ち
second
るんじゃねこれ
super effective hit cancels Ray's ground on hanging. Helping hand will power up the next move for Red Sector. Another red. Effective it is. That's going on right now. The intensity is ramped up to 11.
それはないって
This first match will set the pace of the entire round.
よけろよけろ
From Ray Rizzo.
よけろ
And another rock slide. I don't think Yasuki's Pokemon can do it.
よけろ
Oh, hey. Sitting back with Brasna that will not stop Rizzo's drama.
エアロブラストだねこれ
Unlike the juniors, these seniors and hitting fast.
そうや高やもんトリル4ターン目だったね次へとけるトリル流れながら
As we call the score just a little bit better.
ルギアに守るのあれのがきついなバイバイバイ
And Ray's Pokemon rushes to the field.
まあちょっとよけるおーしよしよしよし あそいつは普通にまあ
It's a revolving door Pokemon.
お、出てきたね。
A helping hand with Ray's Pokemon.
よしよしよしよし。どっちを殴ってる。
Just his substitutes again.
守るしてない。どっちや。
That's going to be a super effective.
海外をリスペクトしたバスケマンです。おっしゃー。しうまいよ、いけるよ。これ逃げる安定やな。逃げる痛くやな。落切断に切り裂かれた。
His pocket returns with a spatial rip.
フェイクアウト。
Here, all the fans for Ray Rizzo, make some noise! I want to hear all the fans for Justin Pachirisu, make some noise! All right, we've got a match underway, starting off after the rock star.
よけろよけろよけろよけろよけろ。
Lugio with his massive help. Barely blinks.
難しい。猿この技ねえのか。
I hope there's
いやそっちはいい。 また来た。 一発で混ざってれば。エアロブラスト。よけろ。よけろ。しかし攻撃は外れた。
These trainers need some encouragement. Once more, let me hear Ray Rizzo's fans make some noise. And let me hear Loveless fans make some noise. Open hand used again by Ray Rizzo. It needs that HP as much as possible. These Pokémon with joy and chat from a fast and furious. Raise Pokémon again. And another earthquake is about to hit Yasuke's Pokémon. I hope they can find a doorway quick. And Lucario takes another big hit. And Yasuke forgot to use Protect this time. And his Palkia withstand it. It can. Oh, right to that grabber. And it's going to be in there. All this massively embraced Pokemon. At least it makes it out of submission, and it does. Things can't go well for Ray. Has 2 moves of West. Meanwhile, Yasuke's Pokemon are using a disadvantage.
クレームにもう一回されるはずです。
Yasuke sends a special red flag.
これ継続来る。これ継続来る。継続来る。お前、あ、そっか。これあれや。必要なチームもいるんだよ。
Into the wall damages
からよしよしよしよしよしよし
Well, it won't do much against the protect of that Dragon Pulse Whip. Can Yasuke's food indoors?
おいまたかよもうクソ言ってマジで
And meanwhile, this desert heat is moving through the Coliseum.
何言ってマジで何回球者出んねんほんまもう何高級助言
The trainers are carefully making their decisions. Although they speak to the call. And Yasuke's Pokemon taking the lead. That is a new parade. Can he take advantage? And a new are we looking at two Pokemon now at once?
急所でしか勝てへんのか
Yasuke is running out of options. He has one Pokemon remaining. And this Sandstorm. That Focus Sash will be able to help him with this. He's just got a shred left. Folks, clapping in the momentum. As well as I did.
よう頑張ったぞお疲れ頑張ったぞあんなん勝てるわけない
Trainers, we're getting started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's battle! Alright, you can see on the master screen here both Mateo and Ray very carefully choosing their Pokemon. Ray sending out a Scrafty and a Thunderous. Excuse me, that's Mateo. Each trainer carefully choosing their next move. And there's a fake out from Mateo. A Thunder Wave that will paralyze Ray's Dragon. There's that Sacred Sword. Now, while they're deliberating, we'll switch on to the senior division. Boy, Se-Jun using an early protect. And that rock slide is going to do some serious damage. to Se-Jun's Chandelure. It's out of it. This is a tense moment for each of these trainers. A huge rock slide. Will it be a KO? Wow, that's a huge move of acrobatics from camera. That flying Jim really doing some massive damage. In addition, boy, the South Korean just hanging on by a ledge with that thunderous. All right, we're looking back at the Masters now. And on the field, Mateo with a recently paralyzed thunderous, a crocodile. Ray Rizzo with a substitute on the field in his thunderous. Some massive damage to Mateo Gini. And there's a rock slide which may very well take out Ray's thunderous. Is he holding a focus? It's a Charty Berry. What can that do? I think he's still gonna go. Ray's thunderous out of commission. In the junior division, we have Brian Huff taking game one as well. Things are looking sunny for the Americans. Meanwhile, we're switching back here to Masters. Ray Rizzo with his paralyzed Terrakion. He's still got a substitute on the field. Wow, there's Mateo using a protect on his crocodile. We're seeing a Dragon Pulse do 0 damage. But that rock slide will hit the thunderous. And it may very well do enough damage. Oh, brilliant use of berries. Can he hang in there? He certainly can. A Thunderbolt pops back at that Terrakion. Already paralyzed. And he's down to a substantial amount of health. The Mundus, we're seeing a Scrafty, we're seeing a Thunderous, and a Terrakion. Boy, there's a fake out that's going to make that Terrakion flinch. And boom, will Cameron hit with that Thunderbolt? Boy, it's going right to the Scrafty. How much damage will it do? Boy, that was quite a bit. Jeez, there's a well-used Spore on Cameron's Terrakion. He is going Betty Bye right now. Could this be the first time an Italian player takes home the world champion? Could this be the first time we have an American win that world championship? 2 times we see a protect. And there's a tailwind. Mateo's Pokemon moving quickly. And here's that famous rock slide we've been seeing so much of. It may just do that Tornadus in. Wow, just holding on by a shard. Now, as you can see as well, the battle timer is counting down. We're at just under 4 minutes right now. At the close of that 4-minute timer, the game will decide based on a number of factors whom the winner will be. So these trainers have to make decisions quickly. There's a rock slide hitting Ray's Pokemon full force. And there's a Dragon Pulse. Boy, right in the to his previously instilled paralysis. And here's an acrobatics. Boy, that is going to be... Wow! It does quite a bit of damage. And out goes Ray's HeartGold. The trainers exchanging blows. Oh my goodness! A huge twist of fortune for the Italian player. Ray sending out his shiny Conkelder. Mateo's Tornado is protecting its interests. Those interests are to stay conscious on this field of battle. Boom goes the drain punch. But a rock slide hits not at all. Drain punch hits not at all. We're moving on to seniors. I think I just saw a heat wave there. News for Cameron. He has 2 snoozing Pokemon. Well, this may be it for Mateo over here at the And Mateo's Tornadoes out of commission as Ray is fueled to victory by his many supporters in the audience. It's a revolving door of Pokemon. Now let's see what the seniors are up to. Each of the trainers with Pokemon with extraordinarily low health. Dangerous to keep them out on the field, but they're their hard hitters. Huge damage. This match may secure his title of world champion, but not if Se-Jun has anything to say about it. He sends out his own tornadoes. Honduras, excuse me. Now let's take a look back at juniors. Over here, each of the trainers, wow, we just saw Justified, one of the signature moves of Terrakion. His attack is going to really boost after dark attacks. Boy, there's a close combat on to Ian's Zoroark. It is out of commission. And as the timer ticks down in the junior division, is a little different than what you normally hear when you're battling. That's because this music was specially composed by Mr. Junichi Masuda, especially for the world here today. And it looks like in the interim, Cameron Jahani emerges victorious, making him our senior 2011 Pokemon video game world champion. Now we have one match remaining here with Ray Rizzo and Matteo Gini. Can Ray defend his title? Can Matteo take it home for his mother country of Italy? Matteo protecting his crocodile. And Ray will now have 2 paralyzed Pokemon. That means the odds are in Matteo's favor here. With 2 paralyzed Pokemon, the chances of Ray's Pokemon being able to attack are slim. Wow, that Hydreigon isn't going leaves him live on the field. Boy, Mateo throwing out his brethren legendaries. Ray is just suffering from bad luck right now. He's got a lot of catch-up work to do. A hidden power. Doing massive damage on Ray's Kelvin. But the Pokemon can't make a move. And there's those leftovers, again, regenerating HP to Ray's Kelvin. Again, both Pokemon paralyzed. I need your energy, folks. It looks like this battle is gonna be a long one. Boom goes a fire punch right to Mateo's Tornadus. And a hidden power returned in turn to those two paralyzed Pokemon. That's down with Ray's Conkeldurr. Wow, here's Acrobatics. I bet it's got a flying gym. It does. That's going to do a serious amount of damage to Ray's Hydreigon. Down goes his HP. He hangs in there to fire back a Dragon Pulse. An amazing turn of fortune. Ray is sending out his own Thunderous. The battle timer wearing down as well, 5.5 minutes remaining. Mateo firing a Protect. And there's a Thunderbolt. Can Ray's Thunderous hang in there? That's going to be a massive hit. Another Paralysis. Oh my goodness, Ray Rizzo firing back with his own. Mateo losing his Thunderous, but Ray only has 2 paralyzed Pokemon. And with just a shard remaining to that Hydreigon, what good can a paralyzed Hydreigon do? Mateo sending out his own Electros. He'll be a 2-time Pokemon World Champion. If Mateo wins this match, he will buy himself some time. And there's another substitute. Paralysis on Ray's bench of Pokemon. And there's a Thunderbolt. There's no way that Thunderous can stay. It's out of here. Ray with 1 paralyzed Pokemon remaining. Oh, he's still got his friend in a Haas out. It's that massive Terrakion we've seen before. And there's a Rock Slide that's gonna do a significant amount of damage. Mateo responding in turn with his Acrobatics on that Terrakion. Also going to be a big blow for Mateo. And a Thunderbolt to Ray's Terrakion. Boy, it takes it out of commission. A critical hit. With a paralyzed Pokemon, Mateo Genie may have bought himself a victory. The timer just under 1 minute and 30 seconds. Acrobatics is going to do enough damage to take out Ray Rizzo's Hydreigon. And it looks as if Mateo Genie has learned his lesson. He says, not so fast, Ray. Ray Rizzo. I don't know what that meant, but it was passionate. Well done, Italians.
To their ears, these trainers, riled and ready to go, launch their Pokeballs out on the field. Ray throwing a Terrakion, throwing a Hydreigon, Mateo throwing out that Electros that did so many wonderful things for him last match, throwing out his Crocodile. Country draped around his neck, Mateo his own decisions with the pride of his home nation heavy on his shoulders.
And that's going to be a great opening blow for Ray. Mateo responding in kind with his own earth-shaking move. How much damage will that really do? An incredible amount. Wow, a big hidden power in response. Mateo with a huge early lead. Mateo utilizing that protect. We've seen so much from him thus far. Wow, Ray's sacred sword just falling short. And this may be the first KO of this game. It is indeed. That's one down for Mateo. Making the score. Mateo sitting out his thunders. Ray Rizzo! And let's hear it from Mateo Jody! Ray throwing out his shiny Conkeldurr. Mateo switching out. It's a revolving door of Pokemon. Mateo firing his hidden power at Ray's Conkeldurr. As we saw before, it does a massive load of damage. Ray says, not so fast, try this Dark Pulse on for size. Wow, and Ray restoring that vital HP with leftovers. Grueling journey where glory awaits. Ray protects his Hydreigon. And a brilliant move because Mateo, who fires a hidden power, may just do that damage. Down goes Ray's Conkeldurr, evening the score. Ray sends out his own Thunderous. Will that be another protect from Mateo? Striking full force on Ray's Thunderous. But he aimed at the wrong Pokemon.
going to be a big move for Ray, and it knocks out Mateo's Honduras. They are just trading blow after blow. Mateo sending out a crocodile, his intimidate ability lowering the attack of each of Ray's Pokemon. And if intimidation is what Mateo was looking for, it may be working. Ray's Pokemon are low on health. Here's acrobatics. Most likely strengthened with a flying gym, it is indeed, and that is going to hit. Wow, Ray's Honduras. He's holding in there. An amazingly good development for Ray. Ray responding in time. Maybe blasting that crocodile out of the water. He does. Ray's supporters on their feet. A thunderbolt will knock out Mateo's Tornadus down. Two-time world champion Ray Rizzo. Boy, and as his supporters rush the stage to lift up their two-time champion. The tension is palpable here in the arena. Each of these players knows they only have one chance to earn the title of world champion. Hyman and Toby setting up their Pokemon. Wolf and Ray squaring up on the field. It's like we're watching a mirage. Hyman with a Thunderous and him on top. A Hydreigon and Blue Cola from Toby. Shoulders Brazilian. Confused. Pulls off a sound shot. Can Jaime's hit on top withstand the punishment? No is the answer. Another razor shot. And the juniors concluded the match. And that's April with one game to Brian 0. Brian's got a little bit of catch-up work to do. And Piers on a big float around. Brazilian losing speed. The room is changing dimensions. Oh, an enormous ice pick. Is that going to hit on the wrist? That's going to be a massive blow. Jaime's peppers still hanging in there. Thanks to a bit. Gotta love the citrus. And Wolf finally loses that tank of the drink. With the confused, he may be in trouble. Meanwhile, Brian and Abel sending out their Pokemon once again. seniors still locked in the heat of battle. Oh, they're getting some encouragement from the audience. That's going to be a big pictures for Sapphire. Wolf changing out his Pokemon around, he still has time.
Flicks team, but Conkeldurr may as well not have existed last year. It was so uncommon. The rule set changed a little bit, and Conkeldurr's been given a bit of a boost by getting the Iron Fist ability, but still, it's surprising to see a Pokemon go from basically non-existent to one of the most important Pokemon in the metagame. So Conkeldurr are likely to have a decent series here just because both players have some Pokemon that are weak to it. Arash has some that are very strong against it as well, such as Amoonguss, but I'd imagine Conkeldurr will be big here. Another Pokemon I think will be interesting is Mamoswine because it's really good against a few of Ryosuke's Pokemon and really bad against a few of them. So it'll be difficult to see if he can get his hits in if he chooses to bring Mamoswine, but if he does, it can do some real damage.
Yeah, definitely Mamoswine, one of those Pokemon that we see occasionally, especially back when the metagame was more oriented toward the genies and dragons. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out now on the world stage. As we see at the bottom of your screen is Arash from Italy using that Mamoswine and that Tornadus, both two Pokemon that we very rarely see, up against Ryosuke with the Conkeldurr and the Thundurus. Both of these trainers competing on the world's stage, on the finals, to take home the crown for their country. This will be the first time an Italian could win the world championships.
Conkeldurr, who likes to beat up on ice types like Mamoswine, but Mamoswine can target Thundurus, so a lot of things could happen here, but it should be fun.
And there is Thundurus going for the safer play, just going for the Thunder Wave onto Tornadus, getting that paralysis, which we've seen so much of this tournament, and especially yesterday from Ryosuke. The Mach Punch comes out from that Conkeldurr, doesn't want to let Mamoswine get off too much damage without taking any in return, is going to deal, about only a third left, or a quarter left there. Not a lot of hit points left for Mamoswine, but it is going to be able to get the Icicle Crash off onto that Thundurus Incarnate. Is going to deal a lot of damage thanks to the ice typing there, and is going to get the one-hit KO. Arash comes to play. That is a mean Mamoswine, and it is ready to battle. Does get the one-hit KO onto Thundurus, and Tornadus gets the attack through the acrobatics with the Flying Gym onto Conkeldurr. That fighting type is not going to want to take that, and Tornadus doesn't care about the paralysis. It's going to go ahead and get a one-hit KO of its own, and Arash takes an early 4-2 lead in the very first turn of this game.
You couldn't ask for a better start if you're Arash. What an important turn. He knocks out two huge threats. We won't see Thundurus spreading that swagger this time. It's not over, though. It's worth noting last year in the first game of the Masters World Finals, there was similarly a double knockout in the first turn, and the player who got that knockout, Wolf Glick, ended up losing the game. So he's got to stay focused here.
And out comes the Heatran and the Cresselia, two Pokemon that are more than capable of setting up for that.
Yeah, I think at some point he's going to need to do it. He's just going to have to find the opportunity where it's safest to do so.
And it looks like the Heatran is going to go for the Protect. And the Mamoswine is not switching out, going to stay in to get that Icicle Crash off onto the Cresselia, dealing as much damage as possible to that Cresselia, possibly before it can get a Trick Room off. Only does about a third there. Tornadus U-turns out, is going to be super effective against that Cresselia and send Tornadus back to Arash's hand to send out a new Pokemon instead. Cresselia going to heal off a little bit of that damage, but still, very bulky Pokemon. It's going to have a couple of turns left in it. Tornadus goes back to Arash, and we will see if what Arash will bring out to counter this Heatran and Cresselia in the back. And of course, Cresselia still has yet to move. With that paralyzed Tornadus, that likely signals a Trick Room. Just for the Spore threat, even though both the Cresselia and the Heatran are super effective against it. But it is going to be the Conkeldurr, is going to want to keep the offensive threat up, not going to give anything away. And the Trick Room does go off from Ryosuke, and that's going to be trouble for Heatran now just because Conkeldurr is out on the field.
That's a big part of why Conkeldurr's been so good at Worlds this year. With all these Heatrans, Conkeldurr's here to beat it. And Mamoswine, very fast, especially with the Choice Scarf, is able to create that threat outside of Trick Room.
And no Protects coming out because Protect was used last turn. The Drain Punch from Conkeldurr goes right on the offensive. Doesn't quite get the KO, but still deals a lot of damage. Makes sure that the Heatran can't use its Eruption, its most powerful attack. Instead, has to use the Fire Gym boosted Heat Wave, which is going to get the easy KO onto Mamoswine and deal a little bit of damage to that Conkeldurr. A lot bit of damage, about half there, and give Cresselia a chance to deal some damage back also. Of course, since Conkeldurr went first, the Drain Punch not able to help heal there, but we'll have to see if the Psychic is going to be enough to get the KO on Conkeldurr, and it looks like yes! It is going to be enough, and Cresselia does knock out Conkeldurr, and we're back to a 2-2.
Well, That's why you don't just, count the game over once you start getting a couple knockouts. We're at a very close game here, and depending on what Arash brought, this game could still go either way.
Yeah, we do still have the Paralyzed Tornadus and the Amoongus coming out now. Amoongus we saw being huge in especially the 2011 metagame, but also making a resurgence in these later stages of 2013. And of course that Paralyzed Tornadus is going to like that paralysis now because, he feels much safer.
Since it's slower now because of the paralysis, it could use a move like Acrobatics or Superpower and greatly weaken or knock out either target here. And Amoongus will be the slowest Pokemon in Trick Room and able to use Spore.
Yeah, and Heatran doesn't want to risk giving the free KO, does protect. The Spore goes off onto the Cresselia, is going to put that Cresselia to sleep and make sure that there is at least one turn where Cresselia can't move. We talked about this in the pregame yesterday, but playing around sleep has been very important, and Tornado shows the superpower, making sure that Heatran knows that it is not safe at all. And of course, Cresselia taking a nice little nap. No bad dreams here.
It doesn't help him make any progress, and Tornadus is going to be able to get some free damage here, and he's going to have to Cresselia gets a quick wake up.
Yeah, as you see, Ryosuke has to go for that Protect. Does get the Protect off again. The Spore is going to be into the Protect, trying to buy time for that Cresselia. But Tornadus making a good adjustment there, going for the Acrobatics to deal as much damage to that sleeping Cresselia as possible. Stays asleep for at least one more turn, and it looks still like a good position for Arash.
Yeah, Arash is looking really good here.
Ryosuke has to worry about stalling out his own Trick Room.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the dangers of using it when you're at this point in the tournament. Everyone is either using Trick Room themselves or they have a great solution to Trick Room, and in Arash's case, it's a great solution.
Yeah, and it looks like Heatran is not going to be able to get the Protect, does not try for it this time, does go to sleep, and Tornadus does get the Acrobatics off, and that is going to deal damage to that Cresselia, and it is going to be enough for the KO. Arash takes a 2-1 lead now. Just that Heatran on the side, that snoozing Heatran fast asleep for Ryosuke to take it back.
Another commanding lead for Arash here. Ryosuke does get the advantage of having stalled out the Trick Room now, so Heatran will be faster, but unless it wakes up, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, and a great move to not go for the triple Protect so that he can at least blow that first turn of guaranteed sleep there. If he had tried for the triple, he wouldn't have had this moment where the Heatran wakes up, gets the Heat Wave off, is going to damage both the Tornadus and the Amoongus, not likely to get the KO on both of them, but with that paralysis, it's much more precarious. And yes, the paralysis Tornadus is fully paralyzed and won't be able to move this turn, but Amoongus does get the Spore off, and Heatran goes right back to sleep.
Now, brilliant play there by Arash. Now, if he'd done anything other than Spore there, he would have given Ryosuke a chance to win the game, but he's much less likely to win now. He needed another one-turn wake-up and two fully, either one-turn wake-up and a fully paralyzed, or any combination of one more of each. So much more likely to come out on top now. Great move by him to get the Spore there, and he's almost clinched this game. He just needs Tornadus to get one more attack off.
Yeah, it's definitely going to come down to the wire. Heatran has that one turn of guaranteed sleep. Can only wake up on the next turn possibly, but Tornadus gets the superpower off. That is going to be a KO on Heatran, and Arash Omati from Italy takes the first game of this best-of-3 set.
Yeah, huge win for him there.
With the critical hit gravy on top.
It's going to let him know he means it, That's a big win, though. Like we mentioned before, it's really important to win that first game. It didn't look like it yesterday with Ryosuke losing his first game in both of his best-of-3s and still coming out on top. However, both of our best-of-3s today have been 2-game sets, so it really is important to win that game. And Arash is in a great position now.
Yeah. Kelder and Arash will be on the bottom of your screen playing for the nation of Italy and the first Italian World Championships and the first in all of Europe. He's playing with a Mamoswine, Conkeldurr, Heatran, Latios, Tornadus, and the Amoongus. And both of these players know exactly what they want to do. We're going right into the game. Ryosuke Kosuge is on the top of your screen playing for Japan. On the bottom of your screen is Arash Omati from Italy. Let's get into this battle. I am so excited to see this.
Hoping we see Mamoswine again. I think that's Pokemon be a difference maker here, and I think it's a big deal to have that Pokemon that can really mess with your opponent's comfort zones. It's really tough to win if you just can't just fall back into what your team does best or what you're the most comfortable with. And I think that's a really important way to set someone off guard. One of the things that's helped Ryosuke in this tournament is that he's used his team much more than most of his opponents have used theirs. He's really comfortable with certain things in his team, and he knows exactly how to play them. So forcing him out of that game is an important part of being able to beat him. Make sure that by setting Trick Room, he's helping himself and not his opponent. But He can't.
Oh,
wow.
Heatran doesn't go for the protect, and Mamoswine gets the Earthquake off immediately. Is going to hit that 4 times weak, double super effective attack on that Heatran. The Earthquake is going to hit. It's going to go all the way down, and that's going to be an easy one-hit KO for Arash. One of the highest offensive threats on Ryosuke's team goes down turn 1. And Tornadus is going to get the U-turn off on Cresselia as well, giving Arash the chance to decide what he wants to do from here on out and maintain that all-important momentum.
Oh my god, it's an incredibly important knockout. Not only does he get the knockout, but he gets a free switch here too, so he can set himself up for basically any situation he thinks is likely to come at him. I can't. It's really daring of Ryosuke to have chosen to leave Heatran in there. It's not necessarily a bad play, even though it didn't work out this time. He's expecting that Arash would anticipate Heatran protecting and double target Cresselia instead, but that's not what he got. And that's what happens when you make daring plays like that one.
Yeah, and we also see the Trick Room as the Amoonguss comes out. That mushroom has been the bane of many players' existence, and it looks like it will be Ryosuke's bane as well as it comes out on the field. We've talked a lot about being down. You usually have to play conservatively. Ryosuke decided not to go conservative, did the aggressive play, and Arash had an equally aggressive play right to counter that. That's probably the most frustrating thing going against Amoonguss. You always get at least one guaranteed turn of no action, and possibly a couple extra ones. You see Mamoswine is going to switch back because it is locked into that Earthquake. Tornadus comes back out. Not too worried about being under Trick Room, it seems. Is back out on the field, fresh from its debut in PokeStar Studios. We do get the helping hand coming out from Cresselia onto Conkeldurr, going to boost the power of Conkeldurr's attack, but will it be able to get an attack off? Amoonguss goes for the Spore, and it hits the Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr not going to be able to use that boost and get an attack off this turn.
Now, Ryosuke is probably just hoping for a mistake there. That's the right play to use Spore on Conkeldurr there, but if he had chosen to Spore Cresselia instead, the boosted Ice Punch would have either knocked out Amoonguss or been very close. So he's just hoping to get a chance to come back into the game here. But that's what happens when you fall behind. You have to hope your opponent gives you some space, and Arash is smart. He's not giving him anything.
Yeah, definitely not. And now he has to hope for another quick one-turn wake-up here. Conkeldurr did use its first guaranteed sleep that turn. And now Cresselia getting spored, going fast asleep. Ryosuke's Pokemon both too tired from this long weekend of Pokemon battling. Conkeldurr takes another turn of sleep. Cresselia takes its turn of sleep. And now Tornadus gets to use its Flying Gym Acrobatics. Going to be an easy one-shot onto that Conkeldurr. And things are going real south real fast for Ryosuke.
Oh, he's in a really tough spot now. He's got a sleeping support Pokemon out. He's down 2-4. He's done, I think, literally 0 damage. And Amoonguss is still out in Trick Room, so whatever comes in is going to have to deal with Spore.
It's going to have to deal with both Spore and with Tornadus still being able to get free pot shots off on Cresselia or whatever comes in. And it looks like Ryosuke's last hope rests entirely on this Landorus Therian form. The Intimidate, though, going to lower the attack of the Amoonguss. It's going to try to lower the attack of that Tornadus. But
not likely to have too much success with lowering that attack there. One of the reasons Tornadus is actually good now is Defiant.
Yeah, Tornadus Defiant giving it an attack boost, completely negating that Intimidate from Landorus and making it just even scarier.
Intimidate's a big part of the metagame. A lot of the matches yesterday were coming down to keeping Landorus alive, and Tornadus isn't really countered by that.
Yeah, Landorus going for the Protect, trying to make sure that it can survive the Spores from Amoonguss and hope that Cresselia can wake up and do some damage, but it's not going to happen. Cresselia still fast asleep. Tornadus goes for the U-turn. With that extra boost onto the Cresselia, going to deal even more damage now. Look at how much damage that does with that Defiant boost. Over half to a Cresselia is not something you normally see. It will be able to recover some of that damage off with the Citrus, get it back up to above 50, but still very precarious. Cresselia should be waking up next turn, though.
Yeah, Cresselia has been out for a long time here, but I mean, that's the game you play with sleep. Sometimes you get short sleeps, like happened last game, and sometimes you get the long ones. He was able to get through the game when the sleep wasn't really working his way, and now he's got a big advantage because it is working his way in the second game, and it's making it even harder to come back from this deficit.
And now he gets a free switch. Arash gets a free switch to Mamoswine, which is going to just make that Landorus quake, shiver.
It kind of removes the option of stalling out that Trick Room too. Like, normally you got Amoonguss out there, like okay, I've got just gonna stall out Trick Room, and then I'll be okay. But now Mamoswine's the fastest Pokemon on the field, and it's threatening to knock out Landorus here. So suddenly things aren't so safe anymore.
And the Spore is connecting with that Lander, as you can see it sleeping. Cresselia does manage to wake up, is going to be able to get the Psychic off onto that Amoonguss, which is going to deal some damage, but he needed much more damage on that Amoonguss to be more relevant. Almost half damage there, but still able to survive at least one more Psychic there. Landorus does go to sleep, but the Icicle Spear coming out from Mamoswine going to break that Focus Sash and be an easy one-hit KO on that Landorus.
Only Cresselia left. All four Pokemon alive on Arash's side.
Cresselia against the world. I have never seen a Cresselia come back from this big of a deficit, but it's always possible. See, the Twisted Dimensions return to normal, and we are just a few short turns away from having our first Italian and our first European world champion in Masters, unless Ryosuke can pull something miraculous off here.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a really momentous moment in VGC here.
Yeah, we can see the Icicle Spear is going to connect with that Cresselia. How many times will it connect? 1, 2, couple more. 2 times. 2 times with the Icicle Spear, as the Psychic does come out on Amoonguss again, which will probably just Spore it back to sleep. Make sure that Cresselia does not get a chance to deal any more damage. Does survive with 21 HP. The Spore comes out, Cresselia goes right back to sleep. And we've got just a couple more turns for Arash to whittle away that Cresselia and become the first European, the first Italian world champion.
He's playing the end of this game really well too. He's not taking any risks. You know, he got a big advantage at the very beginning of the game and just slowly making sure he keeps that advantage. He just hasn't let any Pokemon go down but didn't need to, and he's showing why he made it to this point and why he's about to become the world champion. Yeah,
we mentioned earlier that, you know, because Ryosuke was behind, he had to wait for his opponent to make a mistake. But Arash didn't make a single mistake this entire game. Gets the critical hit even, and with just a couple more Icicle Spears, is not quite going to be able to KO the Cresselia with the Icicle Spears. But Amoonguss is just sitting in the wings, waiting to Giga Drain. That last little bit of damage is going to KO the Cresselia, and Arash Omati is our first Italian world champion here at the 2013 Pokemon World Video Game Championships. Congratulations, Amati.
What a flawlessly played series. Both games, every turn, he did exactly what he needed to do. He led the right Pokemon, he U-turned to the right Pokemon, he used the right attacks. I can't imagine a more impressive victory. I don't think I've ever seen at this level, you know, a match that was played where the winner looked that good. A really, really impressive series and a very deserving world champion.
Yeah, Arash looking great that game. Also looking great, Ryosuke, throughout the tournament. This is the end. We are jumping right into team preview. On your screen, you're seeing Se-Jun Park from Korea's team. Lead slot, Pachirisu, Gothitelle, Gardevoir, Gyarados, Talonflame, and Garchomp. Pachirisu chants already starting in the crowd. Up against Jody Azarelli off screen, he's running a Tyranitar, a Charizard, Salamence, Garchomp, Lucario, and Mo Rotom. And it's going to be an explosive battle.
Absolutely. We've got a really fascinating matchup here. We see the players getting into it quickly here. I think on Se-Jun's side, that Gardevoir, which we didn't see the last time he was on stream, is likely going to be a big deal here. There's 3 Pokemon in Jody's team that are weak to Fairy type attacks. There's not a single Pokemon in his team that resists both Fairy and Psychic type, so should be a good matchup for the Gardevoir. We did see also Se-Jun using that Mega Gyarados previously. That Mo Rotom Jody's using that we haven't seen all season. Very good against Gyarados. It's the only Rotom that's neither weak to that Earthquake and resistant to that Water type attack. So it should help him out a little bit here if he's choosing to use it. Also a good matchup for that Tyranitar and that Garchomp offensively for Jody. Though he's going to be very careful to avoid the support Pokemon in Se-Jun's team with Pachirisu and Gothitelle.
Right.
Without a competing weather here, he can afford to be a little bit more careful. Or he's a little bit less careful.
Yeah.
What he does need to be careful about is Gothitelle switching it at an inopportune time here, especially with a couple choice Pokemon in his team. He's going to be really careful about what he lets it do.
We do see a Protect coming out from that Charizard immediately, but Moonblast from Gardevoir gets the super effective attack onto Tyranitar, but it is going to fire back with a Stone Edge. getting a whole lot of damage there. Rock Slide from Garchomp is going to be avoided by Charizard thanks to that Protect. Deal a little bit of damage to that Tyranitar, enough to put it into Moonblast KO range. Sandstorm not quite enough to get the KO onto Gardevoir there.
Creates a complicated decision here for Se-Jun. And there's going to be a lot of high-risk maneuvers. Whichever one of them is going to get the most cheap attacks there when opponents not expecting it is probably going to come out with the win here.
And it looks like Jody is going to switch out that Tyranitar for Mo Rotom. Double switching, does not like the matchup from either of his Pokemon in favor of that Salamence now. Is going to be able to intimidate the opposing Garchomp, but Gardevoir is not going to be too worried about that. The Moonblast is going to come back out from that Gardevoir onto Mo Rotom this time, dealing some more great damage there as Dragon Claw from Garchomp is going to be used on that Salamence. The berry is going to help and deal just a very little bit amount of damage there thanks to that Happen Berry. And the stand is going to be able to get the KO on Gardevoir right there at the end. So Jody Azarelli taking the first Pokemon knockout.
Yeah, Se-Jun choosing to make a sacrifice there. Likely he expected that to happen there, judging by the way he played out that turn. We just see the Citrus Berry activating for Rotom there, healing up there to get Jody in a little better board position there with higher health Pokemon in both of his slots. It's very likely Se-Jun would win the game there. So huge start for Jody to get rid of it.
Yeah, and we do see the Pachirisu on the field, and the crowd goes crazy as soon as Pachirisu makes it out. Interesting choice to bring in. Pachirisu is a very disruptive Pokemon.
It will be a little frustrating against Rotom if it's out against Gyarados later. Well, it won't be able to use that Thunderbolt in fear of just healing the Pachirisu.
And Salamence does not want to stay on the field, scared away from that Pachirisu. Switches out for Tyranitar. That Follow Me is going to come out from the Pachirisu. We will see the Rock Slide from Garchomp. Tyranitar avoids it, but will be able to connect with Rotom to deal some damage there. Very bulky Rotom, as you can see, and Leaf Storm coming out onto Pachirisu. The poor little squirrel only takes about 50% from that and eats its Citrus Berry to heal right back up, while Rotom has lost a lot of special attack and a lot of offensive power from it.
Yeah, it's impressive how bulky that little Pachirisu is. You look at it just out there as a little tiny squirrel thing. You don't really expect it to be very bulky, but it takes almost nothing from that Leaf Storm. You have to exaggerate. You can't exaggerate, rather, how powerful that is. You know, it's the same power as a Draco Meteor and just nothing, you know. Rotom definitely not as powerful, especially as some of the dragons, as far as putting those attacks out. But, you know, the metagame lives in fear of overheat from Mo Rotom's brother, Rotom Heat. It's the same base power.
And we do see Garchomp's going to protect, letting Pachirisu do everything. Oh, the correct prediction there. The Nuzzle from Pachirisu going to be able to get the damage and paralysis onto that Tyranitar. That Scarf Tyranitar is now worthless. Now it's paralyzed. Huge protects coming out from Se-Jun, blocking both the Ice Punch and the Will-O-Wisp and getting the paralysis on that Scarf Tyranitar.
Yeah, excellent play there. He probably noticed the Cherish Ball previously, knowing that this Tyranitar is from that promotion. Only way you can get Ice Punch, so better position now for Se-Jun to be in.
And Pachirisu is going to redirect all targets. I'm pretty sure Jody would want to get that off the field right now anyway. As we do see Garchomp's Dragon Claw is going to attack that Rotom, and Will-O-Wisp redirected away from Garchomp onto Pachirisu, now burnt. Will be taking that burn damage every turn in addition to some more turns of sand as Ice Punch comes through from Tyranitar, still dealing almost no damage. And fortunately for Se-Jun, that Sandstorm is going to subside this turn so that we don't have to worry about any additional chip damage.
You know, Garchomp still has a full health here. We still have a full health Pokemon in the back. So Se-Jun's definitely setting up to make a comeback here. He's trying to win the late game, not necessarily just on Pokemon score.
And it looks like Se-Jun's going to protect his Garchomp, sending out Talonflame as Protect comes out from Pachirisu. Going to try and keep that Pachirisu on the field. Leaf Storm into the Protect. Ice Punch into that Talonflame. That's some good damage onto Talonflame. And the freeze! The Ice Punch gets the freeze onto Talonflame. It's stuck in mid-air. Can't do anything. Really unfortunate break there on the switch in.
Now you wonder how it stays floating like that, but Pachirisu now only has a turn left unless it's able to absorb a Thunderbolt with that Volt Absorb, and Talonflame is...
the thaw as Overheat comes out from Talonflame. Se-Jun is not playing around. Overheat gets the KO onto the Mo Rotom. Mo Rotom, Mo problems. It faints and goes back to Jody's trainer. Tyranitar is still out though. You see the Life Orb from Talonflame as Super Fang from Pachirisu, not dealing quite that much, but the paralysis. Tyranitar fully paralyzed. Se-Jun was not happy about that turn of freeze, and Pachirisu finally faints thanks to the burn.
Yeah, Pachirisu certainly did his job, though. It's gotten Se-Jun into a very manageable position now. Even though he's facing a decent Pokemon deficit here, he does have a bunch of damage on most of Jody's Pokemon, so it's not impossible he can come back from this one. However, he does still have that Salamence in the back. He's going to have to cut this very, very close to come out with a win.
Of course, you have to be careful with that Talonflame, too, because it deals just as much damage to itself as it does to you. We do see Salamence switching in right now, going to get that Intimidate off onto both the Garchomp and the Talonflame. Going to be huge coming up as both of those physical attackers are going to want to abuse their physical moves. Charizard going to go ahead and Mega Evolve into Mega Charizard Y, going to summon the Drought, going to bring the Sun and strengthen the attack of all the fire moves on the side. Of course, Talonflame probably not going to want to be using that anymore, but Brave Bird will come out from Talonflame using that ability to make it priority. It's going to deal a lot of damage to Charizard, a little bit over half. Hits the recoil damage and the life orb damage, and the Rock Slide is going to connect with both Charizard and the Salamence. Is it going to be enough? Gets the KO on Charizard. Salamence still around, but Charizard going down for free. Pretty big deal.
Yeah, I think Se-Jun should be able to take this one. And you know that Super Fang in the last turn by Pachirisu there, but it seemed like it was so irrelevant, only doing 17 damage there. I don't know if it's actually going to end up being so. With that extra damage there, you're going to feel very safe that even intimidated, Talonflame can finish off this Tyranitar if it needs to. We've already seen that the Salamence has the Hobbenberry, not a Choice Scarf, so Garchomp should be able to finish it off, and we see the forfeit.
Yeah, Jody going ahead and forfeiting, and Se-Jun Park takes game 1 of this best-of-3 set. Let's hear it for Se-Jun, everybody. Huge win for Se-Jun. You always want to take that first game in a series. It just, all the control is in his favor now.
Each turn, we're just trying to win through tactics. Like, I'm going to win this turn, I'm going to outsmart my opponent, I'm going to get this knockout. But the long-term plan isn't there. We really see that from Se-Jun, where even though he seemed like he was losing most of the game, he ended up in a situation where he won the game cleanly because he always kept the end of the game in the mind, not just the beginning.
Yeah, definitely strong play from Se-Jun. We are going to go right into game 2. Se-Jun on the top of your screen, Jody on the bottom. Salamence and Lucario going to be the leads for Jody this time, as Se-Jun's going to go ahead and throw out that Garchomp and Gardevoir once again. So Jody switching up the leads a little bit, and Se-Jun just decided to go with what works.
Yeah, I love Jody's switch up here. We saw the Mega Charizard throughout all of Jody's previously streamed matches. However, this Lucario can go both ways, it looks like. It does have Lucario Knight, so it's capable of Mega Evolution, and we see it here.
Yeah, Mega Lucario making its first appearance on the stream here. Going to go ahead and Mega Evolve, get a lot of additional power on the field for Jody. And Bullet Punch coming up from Mega Lucario onto Gardevoir. Not quite enough for the one-hit KO. Dazzling Gleam, the choice from Gardevoir. Super effective damage on Salamence, and the Earthquake not affecting Salamence or Gardevoir thanks to that telepathy, but will be able to get the damage onto Lucario. Is it going to be enough? Is Mega going down? The Mega goes down. Turn 1 for Jody. A huge gambit from him, did not pay off, but Rock Tomb from Salamence going to hit that Garchomp and slow it down just a little bit.
Yeah, excellent play there on Se-Jun's end. I don't know if he trained his Pokemon with that Lucario Bullet Punch in mind, but I think that was one of Jody's main tricks of this matchup, the ability to use that Mega Lucario, which hadn't been seen before, and try to get a quick knockout of that Gardevoir. Once again, we see it very low in range of Sandstorm damage, but this time the damage looks like it may have been done. Getting one more knockout, even if it's not on Tyranitar, would prevent it from switching moves again, creating a much more winnable endgame situation for Se-Jun.
Jody is going to protect that Salamence, does not want to let this Dazzling Gleam get the KO there. Going to deal no damage to that Salamence, but super effective damage onto Tyranitar. Rock Slide is the choice from Jody. That's the play. Going to pick up the KO onto Gardevoir, get some damage onto Garchomp. Hope for a flinch here. Could be a huge for Jody. The Earthquake is going to go through. No flinches. Earthquake onto Tyranitar. Super effective hit. Is it going to be enough? No! Survives with just 12 HP. Salamence taking some Sandstorm damage, but a good KO, a KO that Jody needed.
Garchomp alone is creating a lot of threat right now. We haven't even seen 2 of Se-Jun's Pokemon yet.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be Pachirisu. Pachirisu on the field, capable of redirecting any attack from Salamence now that Garchomp's slower thanks to that Rock Tomb.
He's kind of got to hope that Se-Jun guesses wrong about which of the two that he switches out. There's also the threat, too, of a Super Fang gear, but we do see the Follow Me.
Yeah, Follow Me coming out from Pachirisu, Jody keeping both in, Rock Slide coming out from Tyranitar, going to have to hope for a flinch onto that Guard Chomp. It looks like we do see some small damage on both. Draco Meteor from Jody onto that Pachirisu. Probably originally targeted for that Guard Jump, will connect, will deal some good damage, but we've already seen not enough. That Pachirisu is so bulky. If that Mo Rotom's Leaf Storm wasn't proof enough, it just tanked a Salamence Draco Meteor and no flinch. So Rock Slide does come out from Garchomp. That should be a double KO. No! 2 HP from Salamence, but fortunately, we'll have to see, will the Sand stick around? Yes, one more turn of Sand does pick up the KO on Salamence. So double KO for Se-Jun that turn.
This game, he does get the Pokemon lead. A big 3-1 advantage now. He still has his redirection available with Pachirisu here, so hard to imagine anything Jody can do here. I never thought I'd see the day where Pachirisu was a world champion, but it looks like we're on the verge of it here.
Follow Me to redirect any attacks from the Mo Rotom, but instead, Pachirisu is not going to do any of that. It's going right on the offensive. Super Fang going to take away half of Mo Rotom's health. Dragon Claw right back after a critical hit! A critical hit, and Se-Jun Park takes down Mo Rotom, and Se-Jun Park is your 2014 Pokemon World Video Game Champion in the Masters Division. The crowd is on their feet. Let's hear it for Se-Jun, everybody.
Wow. You see Se-Jun's react there. No player in the world deserved a world championship more than Se-Jun does. I don't think anyone plays the
They're similar Pokemon, right? Like the movesets can vary and items as well.
And one thing I think is interesting that both of them agreed on was that they actually have Protect in both of their Thunders. Typically not a decision we see made, but both these guys, and one of the Cresselia too actually have a Protect. They really like being able to play defensively.
They are locked in. The crowd is going wild as they are anticipating an epic match here between two incredible players. Now, as we see Shoma toss out his first two Pokemon, it's going to be a Landorus Heatran lead there for Shoma on the top, and Hideyuki bringing the Aegislash and the Kangaskhan, and the Intimidates are going to go ahead and get fired off here. Going to reduce the attack of Kangaskhan and Aegislash by 1 stage each. You never know what can happen here, but you know both of these players did as much as they could to potentially prepare. We see Hideyuki actually switching out the Aegislash now and bringing in his own Landorus. Going to go ahead and get an Intimidate onto the Landorus there of Shoma, as well as the Heatran, which will be reducing their attack by 1 stage. And right after this Kangaskhan goes Mega, I do believe that we will start to see some moves from both of our competitors. And there it is, a big superpower into that Kangaskhan, but the Intimidate really protecting it, as well as the potential training here. That Kangaskhan really eating that up. We see the stat drops there, and Kangaskhan hitting right back with a power-up punch, getting its attack boosted a little bit here, but depending on where the Heatran has decided to attack or what it is going to do, this could be a bad time for Kangaskhan. Let's see what we get from Shoma there. It's a connect on the Heat Wave. He's excited about it. How much damage will it do? No, Kangaskhan hanging on with 17 hit points, and Landorus still in there with 83, about 50%. And both players waiting until the final moments here to lock in their moves. We did see that Landorus definitely outspeed there in that previous turn, so that could be enough to get rid of him. And I think we saw a Rock Slide miss there as it connects on one of these Pokemon, and Kangaskhan dodges it. That is absolutely huge. Oh, and there we go. The berry does come out there for the Heatran. It looks like it is going to be a Shuka Berry. Should reduce the damage of this, and I do not think the Landorus... Wow! What just happened? Are you kidding me? Sacrificing the Kangaskhan there to pick up the feint on the Heatran, and that was absolutely incredible amounts of damage onto the Heatran with a Shuka Berry. Are you kidding me? But it doesn't affect the opposing Landorus.
Just the other one is the reduced levels of attack and defense. It's actually pretty even positioning right now.
Both players taking a minute to choose this next Pokemon, bringing the Aegislash, I think, back in here, but now Shoma revealing the Thundurus.
Might be time for everyone's favorite move, Swagger.
That could come into play here as we see the switch out for Shoma, bringing in a new Pokemon into the spot of the Landorus, and it's going to be Kangaskhan, Shoma's Mega Pokemon. A Thunder Wave now, maybe just trying to stop the Aegislash from even attacking at this point. And we're going to get a move here now from Hideyuki. It's going to be a Rock Slide. Should do quite a bit of damage. Super effective, of course, against the flying typing there of the Thundurus. And Kangaskhan not taking too much, really showing its defensive training there. Oh, and the paralysis, it pays off exactly what Shoma wanted. Deciding to go Mega here and maybe threatening with a potential Fake Out. And if Hideyuki decides to attack, could get hurt pretty hard if he's got that... if he's got a move to hit into that slot with Kangaskhan. Now we see the switch into Volcarona here as Kangaskhan does go Mega. You never want to see a Sucker Punch from Kangaskhan if you're Aegislash. It's not going to be a good time, but the Volcarona does come in here. And a Thunder Wave, very, very nice from Shoma on the top screen there. Great call, and huge anticipation because Thunder Wave would do absolutely nothing. Oh, and another paralysis there. And of course, like I said, Thunder Wave would have done absolutely nothing to Landorus. Probably played out of way worse situations than this. And we see Aegislash finally getting through the paralysis there, manages to go shield form and will be protecting itself, hopefully from any attacks, but maybe not a Swagger, depending on what we see from Shoma here, who has decided to actually Swagger the Volcarona, now kind of locked into paralysis and a potential confusion here. So will it hit through is the question as we get another move from the Pokemon here. Let's see what it can be. Oh my gosh, it does hit through with, I think, a flamethrower. Not quite enough to finish off the Thundurus. Kangaskhan not being able to really do much here. Maybe Shoma needing to go on the offensive with it. Nice Swagger there, or into that Aegislash slot there. Going to go ahead and confuse it. Will it manage to hit through? We haven't seen much at all. And there it is, a return from Kangaskhan into that Volcarona slot, taking quite a bit of damage there. Yes, from that burn there, I think the Flame Body activating. And here we go. Will it be able to hit through confusion is the question. No, it hits itself. Huge. Shoma very excited. Volcarona hanging in there with 5 hit points. Aegislash now going into Blade form. Shoma needs something to happen here. Will it be confused? Will it be paralyzed? What is going to happen? It gets through. It's going to be a Flash Cannon onto the Kangaskhan that is burned, and I think the burn will go ahead and finish it off. The Mega falls for Shoma, and Hideyuki seems to be turning this match around.
Yeah, very big to finally get an attack through. You know, with that paralysis and the confusion on these Pokemon, they're more likely not to be able to attack than to attack. But Volcarona cleverly turning this around by doing damage by being attacked. It has that Rocky Helmet and the Flame Body ability. One of the great reasons to use Volcarona, it's one of the lesser seen Fire-type Pokemon, but every time that Kangaskhan hits it, it's got a pretty good chance of getting burned, and since it hits twice with every attack, it cannot use a Parental Bond against it. Even though there's a Pokemon advantage, I think actually Shoma's still in a little bit better position.
And both trainers playing very defensively here with only 5 minutes left on the clock. It's really just flying by at this point. I can't believe that we're that deep into this matchup here. And a switch from Hideyuki definitely going to reduce the attack of Shoma's Landorus there, as well as the Thundurus on that side. And Aegislash trying to go for something here. It looks like it's paralyzed. Shoma throwing his arms up, very excited to see this happen here as he goes for the Earthquake in the Blade form of Aegislash. Will it be enough? 35 hit points. Oh my gosh, that Intimidate paying off big time and activating the weakness policy.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and Thunderbolt's going to come in and knock out the Aegislash.
Finishing it off, so it looks like just a little too late on that weakness policy.
Yeah, the paralysis is a big deal, too. It's what I was kind of excited about there. It has Shadow Sneak, not something we see too frequently, mostly on Battle Spot, I guess, which makes sense, I guess, as one of the best Battle Spot players using that Aegislash. You know, Shadow Sneak would have knocked out that Thundurus, allowed for a 3-to-1 advantage, but the paralysis works. Thundurus survives yet another turn, and it looks like Shoma's going to be able to take this first game here. Big lead. Unless it happens that there's a slower, or that Shotus is... Oh, let's just go.
Yeah, let's just take a look at it. It looks like it's going to be a knockoff here, actually, from Shoma, doing quite a bit of damage there and knocking off an item there, and we get the Thunderbolt. Going to go ahead and finish off the Volcarona, and a very, very weak Landorus there on Hideyuki's side. It's going to be a Rock Slide. Should pick up the feint, of course. Oh my gosh, the Rock Slide dodge. Are you absolutely kidding me?
Yeah, Thunderous came to play here for the World Final.
Yeah.
Seems like it should have fainted about 7 times now, but just surviving this battle. I was going to say is that all that really could happen here is if Shoma's Landorus was slower, it could lose to a series of Rock Slides. It doesn't look like that's going to happen here. It ends up being quicker, wisely knockoffs for the 100% accuracy, and should be able to close the game out.
That is it. Shoma throwing a fist up in celebration to the fans out there. Let's hear it, guys, as Shoma takes game number 1 of the Grand Finals match. Of match number 1 of match final.
Looks pretty intense over there, right?
Struggling to just hit through anything really the entire time, but like you said, Scott, I think one of the riskiest decisions was making that switch into Volcarona there, and the next level plays from Shoma, getting that Thunder Wave off really set him up for the rest of the game. Although, you know, little Flame Body kind of was there, but just got to figure out the right way to use it. The Rocky Helmet also nice, but we get the leads from both of our trainers here. Hideyuki going with the Kangaskhan lead here, and Shoma, Kangaskhan, and Heatran.
Yeah, that's not so good there for Hideyuki. Again, we get the 2 Steel-type Pokemon facing off in the first turn.
Keep it on the field, go for Fake Out, switch out. What's the right call?
Now, one advantage, too, is Heatran has the option to substitute, so it doesn't have to go on the offensive, where Aegislash is all offense all the time.
Yeah, and then we do see the Mega Pokemon come out here for, I believe, Hideyuki on the bottom screen there. And let's see if Shoma goes for it as well. Protect. Shoma seems really excited. I don't know what's going to happen here. We get that Protect from Kangaskhan. Oh, no, the King Shield. So a double Protect from Hideyuki, and this could be big. The 2 stages of reduced attack there for Kangaskhan. Ouch. As Heatran finishes off the turn and, of course, does nothing to either of the 2 protected Pokemon.
Heatran trying to attack there, and Kangaskhan also attacking. You see, didn't Mega Evolve. Very good play. I do love the guts on Shoma's side, though, being willing to try to attack with Scrappy, get Aegislash, but unfortunately it doesn't play out for him very well that time.
So it's so excited to so sad after realizing that the Aegislash went into King Shield form. Now, Shoma, of course, going Mega this turn, not waiting any longer here. Heatran's going to go ahead and protect itself from any potential fighting type moves into that slot here. And oh my, power up punch into the Kangaskhan of Shoma is going to go ahead and boost the attack of this Kangaskhan by 2 stages because of that parental bond ability there. And this is looking pretty scary as actually the Aegislash, I think, oh my gosh, there it is. The low kick from Kangaskhan taking off about 50% of the health there. And we're going to see Aegislash go ahead and get a turn. Where will it attack is the question. I think it's going to be a Shadow Ball and maybe into the Protect. Very scary Kangaskhan there with Sucker Punch potential now really boosted there, giving it that priority. Oh my gosh, the Shadow Sneak now coming out. We didn't get to see it last game, doing a little bit of damage to Heatran, and maybe, wow, Shoma going first here. Is it enough? No! The Kangaskhan holds on with 1 hit point. Absolutely incredible, and the Power Up Punch now into the Heatran slot after the Shadow Sneak, the stage of attack getting boosted here, and the little Kang gonna go ahead and finish off the Heatran of Shoma. Oh my gosh, that was the most insane play I have seen from the Kangaskhan. Ready to go back into the Pokeball as Shoma takes as much time as possible to select this next Pokemon here, as we see the Thundurus come in there for Shoma on the top screen. 3 Pokemon to 4 right now. Protect that turn 1, so we could see maybe a repeat there. And actually, it's going to be a switch of the Aegislash maybe into that Landorus now of Hideyuki, and there it is, of course, going to reduce that Kangaskhan that's already in a bad position by another stage of attack, and onto that Thundurus as well. Kangaskhan now protecting, so Thundurus maybe not having a move here to do really to that Pokemon, and it's going to be a nice Swagger, going to land the Confusion, but boost its physical attack. That could be scary. As we wait for the Kangaskhan to hit with Return here, taking it down to about 50%.
The damage is might not be as irrelevant as it looks. Again, Landorus getting weakened. We saw what happened last game when the Landorus and Shoma's side was so much healthier than its opponent. Unfortunately for Kangaskhan, doesn't get a chance to attack there, but if it was able to knock out the Pokemon that Thundurus slot, and Kangaskhan was to be stuck on the field so weakened, it would almost certainly lose Shoma the game.
And now we see Shoma actually switching into his own Landorus here, getting those Intimidates off, reducing the attack of Hideyuki's Pokemon by 1 stage, and Hideyuki now switching out, preserving that Kangaskhan. Now we'll have Fake Out later in the game, I believe, if it's carrying that, and we see the switch in to the Aegislash. The Confusion, this is the biggest turn, I think, right here. Will it hit itself and Confusion, or will it hit through? No, the Rock Slide gets off, and it's going to do a ton of damage to these Pokemon with that boost. Oh, it missed. I didn't realize there was a huge miss on the Rock Slide. I cannot believe it.
Tough spot, because Landorus is also not a Pokemon to ignore.
And we see now Shoma switching out the Kangaskhan here. It being so weakened at this point. There's really not much else it could do. And the Thundurus now coming in here. A Rock Slide from Shoma's Landorus goes first. Connecting here, doing a little bit of damage here. He's got his hands up, looking for that Confusion. He does not get it, and a big Rock Slide gets fired off, doing a ton of damage to the Thundurus of Shoma, as well as damage to that Landorus there. So both Genies taking huge amounts of damage, and we see Aegislash going into Blade form. Will it attack? Yes, a Shadow Ball as well. Oh my gosh, it does look like Hideyuki wrapping it up, but no, Shoma gonna get another turn out of this Pokemon here unless we see that Shadow Sneak. A lot on the line for both of these players who I'm sure are very focused right now. We do see the Swagger here. I think the best, most safest play here for Shoma, going to hope that Aegislash cannot get a potential Shadow Sneak off here. A lot on the line for these two trainers, almost $20,000 in prizing here as it hits through with a big Shadow Sneak, and I think that will pick up the feint here on the Thundurus. It is definitely at this point looking like Hideyuki's taking it to a Game 3. Shoma, though, outspeeding, still maybe won't take any damage from this Landorus here, who's still in with 11 hit points, and it does not get an attack off.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways things can go wrong for the Landorus here. You have to worry about flinching, you have to worry about missing. No attack, but with only 2 Pokemon remaining at such low health, a really great position now, and Shoma looks like he's in trouble. Excited that we might be seeing a 3rd game here, but it's not quite over yet.
That is going to be absolutely incredible here as Hideyuki decides to switch out the Landorus, and will allow it for a switch in a little bit later to get an Intimidate off here. Kangaskhan does come in, as well as a King Shield for Hideyuki. Shoma still fighting here, and there goes the King Shield for Aegislash. Oh no, Landorus attacking directly into that slot is going to feel the effects of that reduced attack. Not only from that, but most likely from the switch in of the Landorus here on Hideyuki's side, but does pick up the feint of the Kangaskhan who switched in there. So I'm guessing we'll see a Landorus play on this one.
Yeah, choosing, instead of risking, or not worried about the risk, I guess, of Aegislash hitting itself trying to go to King Shield, instead preserving Landorus to have that Intimidate later, but Volcarona actually coming in instead. We get to see once again it get its revenge, and I think it's a very safe position here. Kangaskhan actually can't knock Volcarona out without knocking itself out, and Shadow Sneak threatening Landorus.
And does look like we get a Sucker Punch from Kangaskhan, doing quite a bit of damage on that critical hit here. However, activating the weakness policy, will we see a double critical hit, and is that even enough to get rid of Aegislash? No, hanging in there with 18 hit points. Now we see Aegislash going to go ahead and switch into Blade form here, most likely choosing Shadow Sneak based on its move priority there, and we do see it take out the Landorus of Shoma Honami there on the top screen as it goes back to its trainer, and of course Volcarona out there to do some work with a little flamethrower into the Kangaskhan, and we have a Game 3 at your 2015 Pokemon World Championships.
How much work did Aegislash do in that game? I mean, that Shadow Sneak Aegislash, this is not something you see in the high-level play of the video game championships typically, but... Swagger going there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, and both competitors taking till the final second, guys. Let's hear it from our fans live in Boston, Massachusetts at the World Championships for your 2 competitors. Your next world champion is on stage right now, guys. Keep it going for him. All right, here we go into the match now. Both trainers throwing out their Pokemon. We get the Heatran and Kangaskhan lead there on the top screen, and the Kangaskhan Aegislash. What is going on? Same leads as last time, taken to the very final second to choose the same Pokemon, but maybe it's the last 2. We saw it a little bit earlier in the top 4, the same leads, but choosing completely different moves as Kangaskhan there for, I want to say, Hideyuki goes Mega, and or actually that was Shoma's Kangaskhan there going Mega, and now we will get the Mega Kangaskhan from Hideyuki, deciding to keep both of these Pokemon in here, so no switching so far on any Pokemon. This is interesting. A protect now from Hideyuki, not wanting to maybe get faked out or take any damage. Will it be another double protect? No King Shield here. It looks like it's the substitute this time from Shoma. So I'm really liking that that choice, and I don't think it will be an attack into that Aegislash, considering there was a Mega for Shoma and Aegislash going on the offensive with a Shadow Ball, most likely breaking the substitute here. So a good play by Shoma, not really taking that much damage, and Kangaskhan really not taking any as well. And now Aegislash out in the open for some damage. And we saw that it definitely takes at least one power-up punch in order for that Kangaskhan to take out that Heatran, so I don't think Heatran has much to worry about on this turn from Aegislash, so definitely can risk it, I think, on this one, as we see Aegislash going King Shield here, and both players staring intently at their 3DS screens here as we get a huge hit from the Kangaskhan, hanging on with 9 hit points. Hideyuki will definitely be hitting back here. Shoma maybe hoping to pick up the knockout there. It's a big return, so both players just really trading Kangaskhan's almost at this point here as Kangaskhan hangs on in the yellow. What will Heatran do, though? It's a Heat Wave. It connects, and I think we will see the Kangaskhan fate for Hideyuki.
Yeah, Kangaskhan can't hang on this time. Very cleanly knocked out. You kind of see the power of a low kick rather than power-up punch.
Yes.
Though I guess a return as powerful as the one that Shoma did there would probably still have put it in range of Heat Wave. Previously, we'd kind of seen Landorus coming in a little bit earlier, helping Kangaskhan reduce damage from the attacks on the other side so it can survive. This time, Landorus coming in a turn too late there. Kangaskhan's already been knocked out.
Yeah, you might know that exactly who it is. Shoma now deciding to switch out here, realizing that Landorus might be able to get rid of it here, and switching into his own Landorus, going to go ahead and get an Intimidate off onto Hideyuki's Landorus. And interesting enough, that reduced stage of attack on Aegislash will lower its Shadow Sneak.
And not as relevant as usually is.
And we do see the Protect there from the Heatran, not taking any damage on this Rock Slide, and a little bit of damage onto the Landorus there now, who has Hideyuki decided to target with this Aegislash here. It's going to be a Shadow Ball, doing a nice chunk of damage there, taking the Landorus down to about 50% health.
Yeah, having the quicker Landorus is a huge deal here, especially for Rock Slide.
And it does look like it's actually a Protect on Hideyuki's Landorus here. Aegislash may be going King Shield as well, so essentially a double Protect here. There will be no damage taken for Hideyuki on this turn, unless someone's got access to a move that I don't know about. So let's see what we get from Shoma here, who's looking to hit both these Pokemon, but it does not attack directly, I think, into that Aegislash there, so no reduced attack. Although I do think that we saw that Intimidate a little bit earlier, right?
Yeah, I think you need a little bit of extra damage probably because of the Berry and the Intimidate.
Yes, and here comes the Protect there of Heatran, and we're going to get moves from our knockoff now from Shoma into Hideyuki's Landorus there. Just trying to get rid of that item as we get some moves back, and it looks like great Protect there, maybe a superpower, I'm not sure on the entire moveset here of this Landorus. And oh my gosh, great Protect there from Shoma. It's going to be absolutely incredible as Shoma looks to take his 4 Pokemon against the 3 Pokemon of Hideyuki. We see the Shield form now for Hideyuki on that Aegislash there in the bottom right, not going to take any damage there, and not going to take any damage, of course, from a King Shield going into Shield form, but the Rock Slide should do something here to the Landorus there of Hideyuki, and it's going to hit back now with that superpower. Is it going to be enough after its item is knocked off? No! Heatran is still in there. We see the stat drops there for Hideyuki's Landorus, and what did Heatran decide to do? Oh no, I think Shoma attacking directly into that Aegislash, maybe with a flamethrower.
Yeah, matter. It's also now too weak to use a substitute. You don't want to be the first player to fall down to that position unless you've got a big advantage from it. Still a close game, but this turn's going to be very important.
We see the Protect now again on that Heatran slot, and Shoma should be going first here with a Rock Slide. Will it do enough through the reduced defense there? Yes, it does! Shoma picking up the fate on Hideyuki's Landorus, and as you said, Scott, Hideyuki not left with a lot of options. He only has 2 Pokemon. But what will we see from Aegislash here as it goes into Blade form? It's going to be a Flash Cannon doing quite a bit of damage, but not enough to get rid of that very, very bulky Assault-vested Landorus, and Landorus hanging on in the red, and we will see the final Pokemon for Hideyuki. It is, of course, the Volcarona that has been in every single match.
So the clock is ticking down. Only a few turns left.
Yeah, that is absolutely huge. You're right, Scott. These matches have actually been taking a while, and it does actually look like Hideyuki going to go ahead and protect again, preserving that Aegislash with a King Shield. And Volcarona probably not going to like taking a Rock Slide if that's what Shoma has decided to do here. And there it is. It connects, and we're going to see that health drop big time. 25 hit points left on the Volcarona there, who looks to be bulking up.
Yeah, see that Quiver Dance. If it can survive this turn, that could be a big deal.
Let's see, Shoma raising his hands. Oh no, does not connect on what I believe was maybe a heat wave then. 6 to 7 turns left on this one. Hideyuki staying incredibly calm for being at such a disadvantage right here. And we do see the Giga Drain, I think, there on that Volcarona, getting a little bit of hit points back and fainting that Landorus. And let's see what we get. There it is, a heat wave. Should do a ton here. Oh my gosh, picking up the feint on Hideyuki's Pokemon, as well as catching the burn, activating the weakness policy there, but the burn is absolutely huge, and it's only a matter of protects before this one is over.
That it is. Aegislash limited in turns. It's going to try to find a way to knock out 3 Pokemon in 3 turns to have a chance here without being knocked out itself.
No, it is going to be absolutely incredible if something like that does happen. It's going to be very, very difficult. We see the Shadow Ball finishing off that Pokemon, and Shoma will be bringing in the next 2 Pokemon here, and I think it will be Kangaskhan again on this one, as he led with it a little bit earlier there in the burn, doing work. Only 32 hit points left, maybe only 2 turns for Aegislash.
Yeah, time is definitely limited now. We see the full health Thundurus coming in. We do know it has Protect. Kangaskhan does not, but pretty tough to imagine way out of this one. Kangaskhan likely to go for a Sucker Punch here. Thundurus can do pretty much anything it wants. Looks like Shoma most likely to pull this off, and we see him run.
There it is, guys. Both players shaking hands, and Shoma Holnami is your 2015 Pokemon Video Game World Champion as he celebrates it again, passes out, no shoes, knocked his shoes right off.
Nuzzle is a big deal. The ability to paralyze Pokemon and shut them down and make them significantly slower is, really significant, especially when both teams are running primal Pokemon, especially, that primal Kyogre.
Yeah, very, very often those primal mirror matches come down to who has the faster version of the Kyogre or the Groudon, and having that speed control in Paralysis can be very important. Have to wonder if Jonathan will be able to manage the speed on his own side. Of course, he does have that Talonflame, which is very well known for Tailwind. And of course, the Bronzong, so can run that Trick Room as well.
Here we go. We are getting into it. The final game of the season, Game 1, between Wolfie Glick and Jonathan Evans. This is for the World Championship in the Masters Division. Let's give it up for both players.
All right, the crowd is on both of these players' side. Wolf will go ahead and lead both restricted Pokemon, the Kyogre and the Rayquaza on his side, while Jonathan will go ahead and lead his own Kyogre and the Gengar here. So Gengar Kyogre lead, not something that we see very often, alongside the Rayquaza Kyogre lead, which is definitely something I don't think I've ever seen both of those Pokemon out as a lead.
Yeah, it's this, pretty unique lead in the sense that normally you lead with Kyogre and then you keep Rayquaza in the back to allow you for the potential switch-ins here. With Rayquaza out, the water type attacks will do less damage because Airlock is activated. However, it also means that if Jonathan wants to switch out into Groudon, it could just potentially be knocked out by a water type attack from Wolf's side. So you've got to be worried a little bit about that. Given that we see the Gengar here, it's most likely that Manectric isn't going to make an appearance, unfortunately. And here,
definitely nowhere near as much as the double restricteds on Wolf's side.
Yeah, you got to remember, like, Gengar here could just, be hit by a huge Water Spout or Origin Pulse, but Rayquaza here actually going to swap out.
Yeah, so Wolf doing what Wolf does best and switching his Pokemon around. Rayquaza swapped out for Raichu. Jonathan going to go ahead and Mega Evolve Gengar, so keeping both of his Pokemon in this first turn. Mega Gengar now trapping the Raichu and Kyogre, going for the Sludge Bomb onto Kyogre, actually. So doing a good amount of damage back to it, weakening this Water Spout a little bit. Not going to deal enough to Kyogre. Gengar actually will survive because of that. And Thunder comes out from Kyogre, but the Raichu switch in. Raichu will take that Thunder for Wolf and actually boost its special attack.
Yeah, I do want to say that's already a pretty risky play from Jonathan.
Or even just switch back out and switch back in for Will-O-Wisp threat later on Rayquaza.
You got to remember, you could switch in Groudon here. Kyogre could go into Groudon. Gengar does have the trap up, and that's actually really, really helpful. We do see Groudon come in here.
Yeah, it is going to be the Groudon trap, so Groudon will switch in for Kyogre, will set up the Desolate Land and block any water-type attacks. Gengar now alongside Groudon may go for an attack here, may try to protect itself to ensure that Wolf's Pokemon are both trapped here. with the Groudon for at least one turn here. Although Raichu can always Volt Switch out, so Gengar will go for the Protect. So no damage being taken by Gengar right now. Raichu goes for the Fake Out, will connect with the Groudon, but just dealing a little bit of chip damage there, not much else. Kyogre's Ice Beam into the Protect. So at least for one turn, Raichu and Kyogre are trapped in here with Groudon.
And the sun is still up, so regular Manectric would actually be so great to see here. It's swapping out. Here's Gengar going out.
Gengar is going to switch out, and it will be Bronzong. No Manectric here, so Bronzong will be the switch for Jonathan. Wants to protect the Gengar, actually going to switch both Pokemon out. So the Sunlight will fade, and Kyogre will come out for Jonathan in place of Groudon. So having put himself in that position, just wants to switch all of his Pokemon back out, giving Wolf a free turn here. Wolf opts to use Protect on Kyogre for that free turn, while Raichu is going to use Endeavor and will connect with the Kyogre on the switch-in, but not dealing that much damage because Raichu, still at full health, did not take a Precipice Blades as it may have expected.
I think if I'm Wolf, I'm still pretty pleased about my position right now.
Yeah, you have to wonder if Jonathan will be able to make use of potentially a Trick Room on that Bronzong. Raichu does Volt Switch this time, deals actually a lot of damage. It did get that boost from the Thunder earlier, so dealing more damage than Jonathan may have expected. Raichu going to switch out. Wolf has two Pokemon he could pick instead of this Raichu to take whatever Jonathan's Kyogre will be dishing out. It will be the Hitmontop in the back, so Wolf very much favoring the Hitmontop and the Raichu, able to cycle Intimidates and Fake Outs. Water Spout does come out from Wolf's Kyogre first, so Wolf's Kyogre is faster. Not able to pick up the KO onto Bronzong, though. Bronzong hangs on with 8 HP. Origin Pulse connects, so it will hit Wolf's Pokemon. Is it going to be enough to pick up the KO on Hitmontop? Not enough. Hitmontop hangs on with red health and bounces back with the eject button, while Kyogre taking a little bit of extra damage as well.
There is priority from Wolf's team, but it's Faint from Hitmontop and Extreme Speed from Gengar. Right, so neither of those, Extreme Speed from Rayquaza, excuse me. So neither of those can actually hit the Gengar because, of course, Gengar is Ghost type. We do see Trick Room go up.
Trick Room is set up, and Rayquaza is the switch in for Wolf. So Bronzong twisting the dimensions now. Jonathan's Kyogre will be the fastest primal or restricted Pokemon on the field.
Yep, Wolf's still definitely in a solid position as well, but I think he was able to really make some good plays so far to at least give himself an advantage.
All right, well, Wolf will retreat his Kyogre, so Kyogre's not going to deal any damage here. Raichu will be the play. So Raichu back on the field, Rayquaza with a Protect here. So just trying to get some switches around, get the Fake Out to stall out this Trick Room. Kyogre does go for Thunder again, so Raichu will pick that up once more. Another special attack boost on the switch into Thunder. And as we see the battle timer, I mean, I always like to check around this part of the game whenever I'm casting one of Wolf's matches, just to see how close we are to the end of time. All players still have all Pokemon right now, but that could change, and if that does, timer could become a very real win condition. Groudon will switch in for the Bronzong, wants to keep that healthy. Jonathan will protect his own Kyogre here, trying to keep that Pokemon healthy as well. Raichu goes for the Fake Out into the Protect, and Swords Dance comes out from Rayquaza there. Wolf deciding to turn on the offense right now.
Yeah, I like the Swords Dance play a lot here because Rayquaza still is at full HP and maybe could potentially even,
Focus Sash.
Right. Of course, Kyogre and Groudon still should be able to outspeed that Rayquaza under Trick Room.
Although, of course, there is the Extreme Speed, so no Protects. Extreme Speed will connect with Kyogre.
Does it survive?
Enough.
No!
Kyogre will go down. Rayquaza picks up the KO onto that Kyogre with the Extreme Speed. Precipice Blades from Groudon will connect with Raichu. Wolf seemed to think it would not be enough for the KO before, but it is enough for a one-hit KO. Jonathan picks up the KO, so both players trading KOs on their other Pokemon. Rayquaza, though, still has its Focus Sash, still has the Swords Dance boost, and that was a Raichu for a Kyogre trade.
So this Groudon is still looking really healthy, but you gotta ask how hard exactly can it hit that Rayquaza?
Yeah, and the Groudon may be healthy, but Jonathan's other Pokemon definitely are not. Wolf will bring in the Hitmontop, which is also not very healthy right now. But we'll get the Intimidate crucially off onto that Groudon, and Hitmontop just barely surviving earlier in the game, being able to eject out and coming back in for another Intimidate on Groudon could be what saves Wolf in this game.
Trick Room still is up, and that means like Gengar is going to be the slowest Pokemon. We see a switch out here, though.
Yeah, Gengar actually going to switch out, so Bronzong will come out for Jonathan instead, trying to just cycle Pokemon around. Wolf will go ahead and finally Mega Evolve his Rayquaza. That wasn't even a Mega Evolve Extreme Speed that knocked out the Kyogre there.
Right.
That's pretty impressive. Rayquaza now in its Mega Evolution will be much more powerful and already has that Swords Dance. Fake Out does connect on Groudon, so Groudon is going to flinch. Dragon Ascent from Rayquaza is going to connect. Is it going to be on that Groudon or on that Bronzong on the switch in? Looks like it will be on the Bronzong. So Groudon will stick around, but Bronzong goes down, and I believe that should be the end of Trick Room here with Gengar coming back out on the field.
Yeah, this is so close, but I think with timer running low, Wolf definitely sees opening here in terms of advantage because it's close. I feel like Wolf still is in a really good position because he's got that Kyogre in the back. And ultimately, I really have no idea whether that extreme speed, how that calculation works.
Jonathan needs to make something happen here. Groudon protects, though, so Jonathan's not going to go on the offensive at all. Groudon protecting itself. Hitmontop with the wide guard. So wide guard on Hitmontop. Good thing that Groudon protected because it wasn't going to be able to do much of anything else. Will-O-Wisp connecting to Rayquaza. Would have liked to have that much earlier on. But I just don't. Dragon Ascent will connect with the Gengar. Wolf picks up the Dragon Ascent onto Gengar, and I don't think there is any way that Jonathan can pull this one off with only 1 minute, 10 seconds left on the timer.
Oh, that was actually an incredible game there. I mean, yeah, timer is running low, but Kyogre in the back and Hitmontop and Rayquaza, Wolf will be able to take this first game, but really well played there, and I like the gamble that Jonathan was at least trying to go for, right? Because it's like if you hope Rayquaza targets the Groudon site, you get the burn off, then the next turn, you might actually be able to pick up a potential double knockout there.
Rayquaza just took its first bit of damage here at the second to last turn of the game. Jonathan just can't ignore that Rayquaza moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see Kyogre come back in here, and Hitmontop probably is just going to go for the wide guard there to make sure Groudon can't hit both Pokemon at once, since at this point the game will be over at this turn.
Yep, here comes the wide guard from Hitmontop, and even if Groudon were able to knock out one of these Pokemon, not enough because time has ended, and Wolf Glick will take Game 1 over Jonathan Evans, and Wolf is only one short game away from becoming the new world champion.
Yeah, I want to say, even though the game went down to timer there, it was still really well executed. Wolf actually didn't need the timer at all there at the end. All you had to do was get Kyogre in with Hitmontop.
Really have to feel that the way that those players played, I would feel comfortable if I were Jonathan. I might want a little bit better of some of the rolls or maybe a couple of reads he could make, but I feel pretty comfortable with how Jonathan played that game.
Absolutely. Jonathan gave an excellent show. He's proving why he is in the finals of this World Championship, and he's going to make it a difficult one for Wolf to win. So we are going to get into this second game. Wolfie Glick is one game away from becoming your world champion. Jonathan Evans needs to win the next two in order to get that title.
All right, and we are going to see the exact same leads as before. Wolf with Rayquaza and Kyogre up against Jonathan's Gengar and Kyogre. And really interesting that they both kept these leads. I mean, like I mentioned, I think both players felt comfortable with how they played, but this lead matchup still felt weird.
Yeah, it did, and there's so much going on already because we saw the Thunder come out from Jonathan's Kyogre in the beginning, right? And so Thunder is a big deal because it does so much damage to that Kyogre. So there's some mind games right now. Do you expect Wolf to once again switch into the Raichu? And if so, which slot, right? You'd imagine if Rayquaza actually switch out into Raichu, then the Thunder just gets redirected and Kyogre is just able to get a free water type attack off. Then Rayquaza could maybe get a Swords Dance off. Obviously a little bit risky. Let's see if Wolf switches out. He does go for the switch out.
Yeah, Wolf is going to switch out the Rayquaza once again, and it will be the Raichu for the second game in a row. Did Jonathan fall for the same trap here? His Pokemon are sticking around, so Gengar and Kyogre still on the field for Jonathan. Mega Evolution Sludge Bomb will connect with the Kyogre. So far, it is a repeat from Game 1, but
there is a poison. That could be a big deal in this matchup.
Yeah, that small little bit of extra chip damage. Origin Pulse from Wolf, not going for the Water Spout now that he knows that he might get attacked here. Does pick up the KO onto Gengar. So Gengar will go down to the Origin Pulse. Origin Pulse coming back out from Jonathan's own Kyogre will deal a good amount of damage to the Raichu, but I'm pretty sure we've seen it survive that. Yep, seen that survive that before. Kyogre taking the chip damage from the poison as well, though.
Yeah, very heavy trade-off there in terms of damage.
Just coming out from that Raichu, being able to take out either the Kyogre, even the Bronzong may not be able to get set up if it can get Endeavored plus Origin Pulse.
And here's the Groudon. this is really, really scary because Raichu has the ability to Endeavor either Pokemon. Now, the one good thing at least is that if you Endeavor the Kyogre, I don't think Wolf's Kyogre will be able to do too much to Jonathan's Kyogre because the sun will be up. So there's the Endeavor play possible, but of course Wolf's shown that he loves switching out. He's been switching out so often in this game. Wouldn't be surprised to see Raichu switch out into maybe a Hitmontop or the Rayquaza. Let's see how this next turn plays out. This is going to be a big one depending on what Raichu does, whether it attacks or switches out.
All right, well, Kyogre is going to switch out, so Kyogre will switch out. Raichu not going to be able to deal much, get any KOs here, maybe able to Endeavor something down. Hitmontop will intimidate the Groudon and the Kyogre. More importantly, getting the Intimidate off onto that Groudon, but Jonathan's going to switch his Groudon out as well. Is this Raichu going to go for an Endeavor, a Fake Out? Is it just going to go for a Volt Switch? Bronzong out.
Endeavor
from
Raichu.
Targets the Kyogre. Kyogre takes a lot of damage, but the Origin Pulse will connect. No more Sun will mean that the Origin Pulse will pick up a KO onto Raichu and about 50% health onto that Hitmontop.
Yeah, and at first I was like, oh man, it's targeted on the Kyogre. That's such a good target down. But the fact now is like Bronzong is still at full HP. And Bronzong, of course, does have the Gyro Ball damage against the Rayquaza, but it also has the ability to set up Trick Room, which we saw
And
last
Hitmontop
game.
was forced out.
Exactly.
All right, well, Wolf will send out the Rayquaza and does have one other Pokemon to send out now. Of course, Rayquaza taking over for the Hitmontop that got ejected.
Because Groudon and Bronzong can't really hit Rayquaza for too hard.
All right, well, Kyogre is going to be the switch in for Wolf. Just wants to have all of that offensive pressure just in case just in case he needs to be able to knock out that Bronzong here before it can set up a Trick Room.
Rayquaza is just such an imminent threat. It was the reason why, you know, there's just always the pressure constantly around it.
Well, Wolf is going to retreat the Kyogre for the Hitmontop. Gets the Intimidate off onto Bronzong and Kyogre, and will have Fake Out pressure for the next turn. Intimidate onto both those Pokemon. Rayquaza just going for the offense. A Dragon Ascent, no protects coming out from Jonathan's Pokemon onto the Kyogre, so will be able to knock out Kyogre with that Dragon Ascent. Drop some of its defenses as well, and Kyogre will go down. Bronzong likely going for a Trick Room here. I think if there's no Trick Room, there's no way for Jonathan to bring this back. Does go for the Trick Room, and now Bronzong versus Groudon are going to have to be able to beat Hitmontop, Rayquaza, and Kyogre. Bronzong and Groudon may be able to just deal with its partners before Rayquaza can deal too much back to them.
Right, and we know that Rayquaza is already at -1 defense and special defense from that Dragon Ascent. So Groudon is going to come back in. You know, Bronzong and Groudon, two really good Pokemon to have in the late game of any match here. But the issue here is that Jonathan, of course, cannot kind of bring Groudon back in. And now, of course, there is the skill swap potential as well. So
Bronzong and this Groudon to come up huge in this match, or else he will go home as only the runner-up, and Wolf will be your new world champion. Rayquaza does
this
Mega
could be the
Evolve this
turn.
If it gets the damage off, it may be what makes Wolf the world champion. Rayquaza's Delta Stream now out on the field. Groudon protects.
Oh, Wolf.
Oh, what did Wolf do? Did Wolf attack that Groudon? Hitmontop goes for the Fake Out onto the Bronzong. So Bronzong's not going to be able to move. Groudon's not going to take any damage here, but nothing else.
Oh, he calls it!
Oh, he went for the Swords Dance. Can't play passive against Wolf, or he will just set up in your face.
Oh my
And now that
gosh!
Rayquaza is back to being the monster threat.
That might have just won Wolf the World Championship.
Yeah, Wolf really punishing that passive play on Jonathan's part. Hitmontop will switch out for Kyogre. Kyogre going to make sure that no Fire-type abilities can be used, so that protects Rayquaza entirely from the Groudon.
Oh, here we go.
Primordial Seal on the field. Gyro Ball from Bronzong connects with the Rayquaza. Will be dealing damage, but not enough. Precipice Blades doesn't hit the Rayquaza.
Oh,
Kyogre avoids the Precipice Blades! Dragon Ascent from Rayquaza. After its friend, Kyogre avoids the Precipice Blades. The Dragon Ascent coming out from the Galaxy.
Does it knock it out? Oh, no!
Groudon sticks around with 13 hit points, surviving that Cosmic Assault. Rayquaza taking a little bit more of its defenses drop. Kyogre taking a little bit more damage from the poison.
It is so close. Oh, here's the Kyogre switch out. That's going to be able to get in another Intimidate off.
Intimidate. That Gyro Ball's not going to be dealing enough damage from Bronzong without a critical hit. And Groudon here has to protect itself if Jonathan's going to have any hope of taking this back. Groudon goes for the Protect. Rayquaza will go for an attack here. Extreme speed into the protect. Here comes the gyro ball
Can we
from
crit?
Bronzong. Needs this crit. Connects with the Rayquaza. Deals a lot of damage.
Oh,
Not enough.
no, that's
Needs
not
one
enough.
more.
Wolf just made one better play both times, and that's really what's been keeping him in this one. Jonathan being so close. Here's the protect. Oh, he
went for the
fails.
double protects. Not enough. Hitmontop just goes for the fake out onto Bronzong. And with that double protect fail, Extreme Speed will connect, pick up the Groudon, and Bronzong is not going to be enough against this Hitmontop and not going to be enough against this Mega Rayquaza. Bronzong flinches, can't do anything, and Trick Room ends. Additionally, 3 Pokemon left for Wolf, only the Bronzong left for Jonathan.
Wolfie Glick must be able to taste that World Championship.
It is so, he is a minute and 37 seconds away.
Yeah, and it may end even before that. All he's got to do is just attack with all of his Pokemon right now. Bronzong has no way to protect itself. Dragon Sand coming from that +2 Rayquaza, going to target down that Bronzong. Bronzong cannot knock out enough Pokemon right now. This was actually one of the
pretty well.
This was one of the best Master Division finals I've ever seen.
And Hitmontop with the close combat onto Bronzong, also not enough. Jonathan just hanging in there by a sliver of health. Bronzong's Gyro Ball will finally be able to pick up the knockout onto the Mega Rayquaza. But with Hitmontop and Kyogre and no Trick Room, that is going to be it for Jonathan.
It is, but, you know, it was a 0-2.
But these are close.
But this easily could have been a 2-0. I am so impressed by Jonathan's level of play here. Seems like there was just maybe one prediction like he wasn't able to get. It wasn't even maybe slightly, like misplay isn't a good way to call it. It's more of just a prediction that Wolfie was able to nail. This game was won by Wolf. And here's the water spout. Wolfie Glick is your 2016 Pokemon video game world champion in the Masters Division.
Finally, Wolf Glick gets to lift the first place trophy, not the runner-up, and his fans are going wild in the crowd.
Just look at him.
Drink it in.
So happy.
Just drink it in.
And this is amazing, Evan. If we just look at the stories of every World Championship, it seems like every year there's that one player who's worked so hard, who hasn't been able to do it, and finally gets it. In 2014, it was Se-Jun Park, who had top-cut the previous World Championships, but wasn't able to win the World Championships, and finally did it with this trusty Pachirisu.
Time spent setting up, and I think that gives Ryota a little bit of time to reposition his board and make sure he always has the right Pokemon not only in play but available in the back. Something like the Marowak, that after a Xurkitree sets up the Tail Glow, the threat of a Marowak switch-in is something you have to be very, very careful of if you're looking to capitalize on the big boost to your special attack and throw out Thunderbolts.
Here we go. The first turn of the first game of our final match here in Anaheim. Let's hear it for both of these players as they are setting up for a barn burner of a match here.
Both players locking in at very different speeds. We saw Ryota take a lot more time, so maybe a little bit concerned about a couple of things on Sam's team, but Sam 100% knowing what he wanted to go for right off the bat.
Well, he does want that Ninetales and Garchomp immediately, and Ryota does opt to bring out the Tapu Fini and the Alolan Marowak. Just making sure that that Marowak can be out on the field to prevent any kind of setup from that Xurkitree immediately, but will be needing to protect that if Sam brought the Xurkitree this time.
Those big hits that, like the Tectonic Rage, maybe even the follow-ups from Rock Slides and Earthquakes, would be moving before Ryota's team.
All right, well, the Aurora Veil will be set up by the Ninetales, protecting that Garchomp and the rest of Sam's Pokemon. No protects at all. Garchomp just goes for the Swords Dance here, standing in front of a Tapu Fini and an Alolan Marowak. The Moonblast coming out from Tapu Fini onto Garchomp, going to be dealing a lot of damage, but thanks to that Aurora Veil, not quite enough to pick up the KO. Flare Blitz from the Marowak connects with the Ninetales and will pick up that KO as well. So Sam, as we've seen on a lot of his games before, really prioritizing getting that that Aurora Veil up and then taking that free switch in from the KO here. Garchomp, though, took a lot of damage on that turn.
It really, really did. And I think a very brave but very successful play from Ryota to leave both these Pokemon in and leave them attacking. Clearly having knowledge about the Ninetales, knowing that it's not carrying that common Focus Sash item, something like the Light Clay to boost the duration of the Aurora Veil, meaning he can take a knockout on it. Sam being forced to bring this Xurkitree in might not be the premium time for it here. Tectonic Rage is so important for Sam right now after he spent the whole first turn investing in that Garchomp through both the Aurora Veil and the Swords Dance.
All right. Well, Marowak just going to protect this turn. Ryota trying to keep that Pokemon on the field so Xurkitree can't use a Thunderbolt. But unfortunately for him, the Tectonic Rage is moving before the Xurkitree. If this can pick up a KO through the Protect, that will allow Xurkitree to easily fire off some Thunderbolts onto that Tapu Fini.
After a Swords Dance, it's going to be absolutely terrifying to see the amount of damage coming in. It does, of course,
targets the Marowak.
Connect with the Alolan Marowak, the desired target that he really needs to get rid of in this matchup. And the Protect...
so much damage.
Not enough.
That is a quartered damage from the Tectonic Rage, and Marowak still cannot hang on. Picks up the KO. Now, the Xurkitree just able to Tail Glow away with no Marowak to protect the rest of Ryota's team. This Moonblast will finally finish off the Garchomp, but if you're Sam, you are just happy to have that Marowak off the field and your Tail Glowed up Xurkitree ready to start making plays.
Well, Sam's got a really interesting strategy. As you said, getting rolling. The Aurora Veil setting up turn 1 bought him a little bit of time, so he was then able to use the Swords Dance boost that he got from that, and safely bringing in the Xurkitree, knowing that because of the Swords Dance boost and Tectonic Rage, he'd be able to remove Marowak from play by either forcing a switch or just knocking it out through Protect. That's such great knowledge for Sam to have. Now he has lost the Garchomp, but he has, of course, got the Xurkitree, which already is boosted up. So he's in a great position to go offensive on this turn with that. While we do know the Mandibuzz might be able to help out with that problem it has being a little bit slow, he's usually forced to partner with to get the benefit of that Psychic Seed, knowing it's still in a good position to be sticking around.
All right, Dazzling Gleam actually coming out from the Xurkitree deals a lot of damage to the Tapu Fini and the Celesteela thanks to the boost there. Moonblast from Tapu Fini deals a little bit over 50% damage to the Mandibuzz as well. But we are just going to see a taunt coming out from Mandibuzz, trying to prevent Celesteela from using any of its annoying support moves.
Including the Leech Seed, which it was not able to use in that turn. Really essential play to make sure that Ryota doesn't even have his option to try and set up. That's something he's done in numerous games over this tournament, really pulling things back from the brink with those Leech Seed and Protect combinations. Not only does he not have access to Leech Seeds, he doesn't have access to Protect. So that Xurkitree is going to be in a fine position to just pick up that knockout in the following turn. At least get damage on both the Tapu Fini and whatever came in as Ryota's last Pokemon.
Here come the Thunderbolts, and here come the KOs. Xurkitree picking up that one quite easily onto Tapu Fini, not afraid of that Celesteela at all. Getting the Beast Boost to make the Xurkitree even scarier, and the Tailwind support from Mandibuzz, meaning that the Xurkitree will be the fastest thing on the field. Celesteela is left just using its Heavy Slam against Mandibuzz, but it is not anywhere near enough. Ryota not having anywhere close to the type of offense that Sam's team has right now.
Well, not only does it lack the offense, that limited offense is already reduced by the presence of Aurora Veil that's still in play from that turn 1. So Ryota, even if he bought one of the few Pokemon I think would be able to deal with this Xurkitree, something like the Crocodile, it's not going to be in a great position. Tapu Koko may be able to try and help out, but it's actually going to end up boosting this Xurkitree's already ridiculously powerful Thunderbolt.
Look at me, I'm helping. Electric attacks deal more damage now. Aren't you happy, Celesteela?
You'll be able to knock the Tapu Koko out as well with a Thunderbolt, because I've already got a Tail Glow in play.
And it is paying off hugely right now.
No, I think this Xurkitree is going to be able to start picking up the knockouts it really wants. And that's something he needs to just keep going, especially as he comes into game 2.
Oh, the Thunderbolt trying to get the Tapu Koko, but Ryota did protect this time around. Mandibuzz is just going to go ahead and roost up and heal right back up some of that health that it has lost, but Ryota now able to start dealing a little bit of damage with the Celesteela, still targeting down the Mandibuzz. Ryota definitely valuing getting that Pokemon off of the field because of that Tailwind. Looks like he may just be trying to stall out this Tailwind and then hope to go on the offensive with the Tapu Koko.
but at the same time, he can only focus on one thing when he's protecting with Tapu Koko. Yes, it's got its choice of terrain, but its special attack isn't absolutely sky high like this Circuitry.
Yeah, an absolutely mental Thunderbolt coming out, picking up an easy one-hit KO thanks to all of those boosts. Circuitry just showing off now with more beast boosts alongside the Mandibuzz. Celesteela out on the field can try to keep dealing damage as it gets taunted once again by the Mandibuzz. But Sam, an amazing first game there, really picking his moments, able to set up so that he had all of the momentum this game. So from really turn 0.
There was no way to stop that strategy coming out, and I really think Sam picked the right Pokemon, knowing the Marowak was going to be a threat. He got the Garchomp in early to remove it from play, no matter what happened, getting that Swords Dance up entirely safely thanks to the Aurora Veil, but there was so little Ryota could do to keep his Marowak safe.
Absolutely. The forfeit coming out from Ryota as Sam Pandelis of Australia is now only 1 game away from becoming the world champion here in Anaheim. The Australian crowd is fired up right now. You can hear the chants going throughout the whole stadium here. KO. Marowak dealt so much damage to itself that it put it within range of that Garchomp's Tectonic Rage through the Protect. Previously, we saw Pokemon like Celesteela taking those knockouts on Ninetales instead to protect the Marowak.
And I think that's something that Ryota's definitely going to have to do. Smarter play around the Marowak, maybe a little bit brash of him to show it off, just to threaten the Xurkitree.
Absolutely.
Saving it for later. And then he has access to the mind game of potentially switching it in, which is, of course, going to force the play a little bit differently from Sam. So I think Ryota's really in a position where he has to change up his leads because Sam sure hasn't.
Here we go. Sam Pandelis 1 game away from being the world champion, but he has to get through Ryota Otsubo's Whimsicott and Tapu Fini lead with his Ninetales and Garchomp.
Whimsicott, definitely an interesting adaptation here alongside that Tapu Fini. We do know that is the holder of the Z Crystal on Ryota's team.
So Aurora Veil will be going up for free if Sam wants it and no trade of Pokemon. Looks like Sam does not want to put that Garchomp in any danger, switches it out for the Xurkitree, just switching that Xurkitree in willy-nilly, as we are going to see the Tailwind come out from Whimsicott to give Ryota a little bit more breathing room with which Pokemon are going to be able to deal damage to the sweepers on Sam's side.
He gets the Tailwind up beforehand. The Ninetales free to set up Aurora Veil. That's going to be huge. And this Dazzling Gleam.
Not a bad Dazzling Gleam.
Does a decent amount, but not as much of it as it could have if there was, of course, no danger of the Aurora Veil. That Aurora Veil is already showing how good it is in this matchup. Whimsicott playing it safe, probably looking to try and get some damage down on the Garchomp to try and slow down the Pokemon that are usually a little bit faster than his sweepers. That's going to be something he needs to do. Whimsicott wants to be facing off against that Garchomp.
Yeah, Whimsicott switches out Alolan Marowak on the field to threaten that Xurkitree. Just going to protect this turn, so Xurkitree not going to take any damage from Ryota's Pokemon. Another Dazzling Gleam will connect with the Ninetales. That Choice Specs on the Tapu Fini dealing a lot of damage through the Aurora Veil, really just making it incredibly powerful even without any other boost, but the Disable will make sure that Tapu Fini has to switch out or it'll be living the struggle.
Well, that's something that Sam has adapted to with his Ninetales. And knowing about the choice specs on the Tapu Fini means he's forcing plays from Ryota. Ryota is now forced to switch out this Tapu Fini, and he's probably going to be looking to capitalize on that. So he gets a good feel for what Ryota's going to do in that turn, and he now knows a little bit about what he's forced to do in this turn.
Yeah, Ryota is absolutely forced to switch out that Tapu Fini. Will be bringing the Whimsicott back in on the field. Of course, did previously set up the Tailwind, but Marowak still very slow. Just going to take this Icy Wind from Ninetales, deal some good damage onto Whimsicott and a little bit onto the Alolan Marowak, but crucially dropping the speed of both of these Pokemon for a little bit of breathing room once the Tailwind ends. There is going to be the Brick Break from Marowak, breaks the shields there.
But
deals some good damage onto that Ninetales
glow. Xurkitree getting the Tail Glow is really, really big here. Means that it's going to be able to start getting that big damage out if it can move. And if it can stall out another turn of Tailwind, that Icy Wind is going to start paying off for him. Of course, the Marowak is still a threat, so he's forced to Dazzling Gleam, but Dazzling Gleam can be picking up the Pokemon alongside the Marowak. He is still going to be able to get hit by the Icy Winds, which are going to be so important with Tailwind about to expire.
All right, well, Whimsicott protecting this turn, not using the last turn of Tailwind here. Ninetales going for the Aurora Veil again, has to reset it after the Brick Break. So Ryota will be able to get off an attack here onto one of the Pokemon on Sam's side. Another Dazzling Gleam coming out from the boosted up Xurkitree, not dealing that much damage at all to the resisted Alolan Marowak, and another Brick Break. This time will pick up the KO, and Sam has no screens.
No more defense boosts in both defense and special defense on Sam's side. And this could really end up being a problem, especially with Whimsicott still on the field.
Can just reset that Tailwind.
The Tailwind. Now he's already lost his Icy Wind Pokemon, so he's not able to start lowering those speeds. Marowak's going to be going last in the turn anyway, and we saw it didn't take all that much damage from a Dazzling Gleam.
Right.
So probably comfortable to maybe buy a little more time. The Tailwind can be matched by Sam here because he brings his Mandibuzz in as his final Pokemon. Ryota definitely needs to keep Marowak around to deal with his Tail Glow boosted Xurkitree. Switching it out is certainly one way to do it.
Yeah, very smart of Ryota to continue to protect his Marowak, switching in the Tapu Fini instead. Again, that will also reset any stat drops. The Nature Power from Whimsicott picks up the KO on the Xurkitree.
This is a really big turn.
That's a big KO. Mandibuzz left setting the Tailwind for nobody.
Well, it's going to be benefiting that Garchomp, but the Garchomp's coming in against a Tapu Fini and
a
Whimsicott. Whimsicott with Nature Power doesn't mind at all about the changes in speed. It is a status move that then gets boosted by Whimsicott's fantastic Prankster ability. There is one thing, though. He needs to get the Tapu Fini out and then back in.
Yeah, but it is always risky when you're going up against a team like Sam's. Those free switch-ins are also just free opportunities to Swords Dance on that Garchomp and start building even more damage. No switch, just the Tectonic Rage coming out from the Garchomp. Sam really trying to get some of that momentum back here with a big Z move.
That's something he's going to need to do, is put the momentum back in his favor. But clearly Ryota, believing in his Tapu Fini and its ability to start picking up knockouts, now Aurora Veil isn't in play.
It is on the Tapu Fini that will deal a lot of damage. No Swords Dance needed. Garchomp picks up the KO onto Tapu Fini. No more Misty Terrain able to come on the field and boost that Nature Power into Moonblast anymore either. That is a huge knockout for Sam.
Yeah, and Ryota needed to preserve that Tapu Fini. It was so important to this matchup. The Marowak could have been an easy switch in there. Let it get knocked out by the Tectonic Rage.
Gonna need something to deal with both the Mandibuzz and the Garchomp. He needs to worry about potentially getting stalled out with that Roost. Going to set up the Tailwind just to make sure that the final Pokemon are going to be as fast as possible while Sam gets a Swords Dance on this turn here. And a taunt coming out from Mandibuzz. One of the worst things that can happen to your Whimsicott is getting taunted. Shadow Bone from the Marowak dealing a little bit of damage. Does get the drop though.
Yeah, that's something that's going to help out a little bit there, but it may not be enough. With the boost, should be able to start picking up easy knockouts with Earthquake here. And Sam just ensuring a nice win condition for himself.
All right, Ryota will go ahead and protect the Marowak on his side, trying to make sure that the Marowak will get a chance to attack in this Tailwind. Rock Slide not enough to pick up the KO onto Whimsicott, so no KO coming from Whimsicott just immediately. But will take the foul play. Ryota now able to get a free switch in here. Knew that Whimsicott wasn't doing anything else for the rest of the game. Did not want to threaten the Pokemon in the back. So Ryota now able to switch in his final Pokemon.
Yep, and Ryota's going to have to reveal the full extent of his hand here. It is the Tapu Koko.
Tapu Koko loves that Mandibuzz.
It loves Mandibuzz, and actually...
And a weakened Garchomp.
With the damage from Shadow Bone, the Garchomp as well, where unless he tries to go on the offensive a little bit too early, is in a very good position to try and get this Garchomp to beat this Tapu Koko.
Absolutely. Garchomp has to protect, stall out the Tailwind on Ryota's side. just going to block damage coming in from both of Ryota's Pokemon here. The Dazzling Gleam from Tapu Koko, the right choice there, would be able to deal a lot of damage to both Pokemon here. About 50% onto Mandibuzz. And it looks like the Flare Blitz connecting with the Mandibuzz. Ryota not falling for the Protector, picks up the KO. No more Tailwind pressure on Sam's side. And Ryota, looks like Ryota's forcing a Game 3 here.
He is, and he played fantastically on that turn where he knew that Tailwind advantage was going to be changing at the end of it. Tapu Koko just needs to keep itself safe on this last turn of Tailwind from Sam, and then he's going to be able to go after it with a single target Dazzling Gleam. Of course, the damage being boosted. Tapu Koko, though, already going first.
Yep, there is the Dazzling Gleam picking up the KO onto Garchomp, and we got a series. Ryota Otsuba and Sam Pandelis now both 1 game away from becoming the 2017 Pokemon video game world champion.
It's come down to 1. Both of those games, players getting good information, and Ryota making fantastic adjustments. Time, being able to get a little bit more time to lower his opponent's speed was really good, and bringing the Whimsicott as well, that is not so bad when it comes to, of course, dealing with those speed drops because of the Prankster ability, was the perfect adaptation from Ryota in Game 2.
Here we go. Game 3, the decider. Our final match here in Anaheim. I can't believe it's already almost over. In a cool 15 or 20 or 30 or so minutes, we will have a new world champion. Will it be Sam Pandelis of Australia and his team of Garchomp, Ninetales, Arcanine, Mandibuzz, Tapu Lele, and Xurkitree, or will it be Ryota Otsuba, who has decided to bring his Alolan Marowak and his Whimsicott in the front position of his squad once again?
Well, the Alolan Marowak again.
Who can get the momentum here? We saw in Game 1 when Sam was able to set up. It was just about over for Ryota, but it looks like Ryota is the one exerting the most pressure here as Garchomp has to switch out for the Mandibuzz. Marowak switches out.
Yeah, this is going to be big depending on what comes in. Tapu Fini bringing Misty Terrain. This could be so essential in this turn, depending on what Whimsicott has gone for here.
The Z move!
Nature Power turning into Moonblast because of the incoming Misty Terrain.
And then becoming
Twinkle Tackle. It's going to be so big. And if it was targeting that slot where the Garchomp was,
does not affect the Mandibuzz.
Oh, if he went for the Garchomp slot, the Mandibuzz blocks it because of the dark typing. That was what I was wanting to say, that it is the perfect switch in. And it's similar to using an electric type move into Lightning Rock. That doesn't affect it.
Dark type Pokemon not affected by attacks that have been boosted by the Prankster ability.
So prepared for that team, and knowing that the dark typing on Mandibuzz was the key element here to deal with those fairy type moves that you usually can't handle.
Well, Ryota's Whimsicott no longer has its ace in the hole, but will be able to set up a Tailwind here. Going to be cut a little bit in its efficacy by the Icy Wind from Ninetales. So we'll drop the speed of both the Tapu Fini and the Whimsicott for this turn. The Tapu Fini, though, will be able to continue to fire off some powerful Dazzling Gleams with that Choice Specs, dealing a little bit of damage to the Mandibuzz and to the Ninetales, but with that Aurora Veil, not the full amount. And another taunt on Whimsicott means that Pokemon has to retreat.
It's really not been Whimsicott's day. It has set up Tailwind, which is certainly going to help out a little bit. He's going to be able to spend a little bit of time dealing with the Tapu Fini, and we know that the potential Disable from the Ninetales would be a fantastic way to deal with it in this turn.
Tapu Koko switching in really early here for Ryota. That's been a Pokemon that he has kept in the back in all of his previous matches, but that's going to be the Pokemon he needs to make something happen here. Ryota also opting not to allow that Ninetales to get a free Disable off onto the Marowak, but he didn't even go for it. Catching the switch in, gets the Icy Wind on both of Ryota's Pokemon. Great prediction there from Sam, recognizing that he probably wasn't going to get another free disable off here.
Not after
just
game
going
2.
for the icy win and set up a foul play onto the Tapu Koko.
Well, maybe you see Sam predicting the Marowak to be the switch in for that Whimsicott that wasn't able to move, and throwing the foul play at the slot that it isn't in. Every little bit of damage is going to help out against this Tapu Koko, though. Not one of the big sweepers that Sam is looking to get into a great position in this game.
All right, Ryota's Pokemon out on the field, slowed a little bit by the Icy Wind, just going for the Dazzling Gleam onto both the Mandibuzz and the Ninetales, as Tapu Fini is as well dealing a little bit of damage, but nowhere near as much as you would like to see. And the Disable actually connecting this time with Tapu Koko, so no more Dazzling Gleams able to come out here, while Mandibuzz able to get this foul play off onto Marowak, still hangs on though. So more damage coming out from the Mandibuzz. The Brick Break from the Marowak, the Brick Break onto the Ninetales will get rid of the Aurora Veil and put it in within Dazzling Gleam range or Discharge range.
Yep, striking range for Tapu Koko now, and with one more turn of Tailwind remaining, making that call and hitting it with something like the Shadow Bone.
No Protect on either of Sam's 2 Pokemon, Mandibuzz or Ninetales, means he has to switch at least one out. Ninetales does switch out for the Garchomp, but Ryota actually switching out his own Marowak, bringing back in the Whimsicott. Making sure, looks like he wanted to go for the Thunderbolt, or did still go for the Discharge, just going to take the damage onto Whimsicott instead and pick up the KO onto the Mandibuzz.
Yep, Whimsicott completely accepting that damage there.
Yeah.
But getting rid of the Mandibuzz rather important. It means that this Whimsicott has the option to try and set up the Tailwind, but without it being matched by the Mandibuzz on Sam's side of the field. Of course, that Mandibuzz isn't going to be around to try and get the next foul play onto this Marowak, but he's still going to have to deal with this Garchomp, and with the Dazzling Gleam unable to be used because of Disable.
Really on the Land Shark and the Ultra Beast to bring it home for Australia.
Yeah, he's going to need a little bit of time, and respecting potential switches. A Tailwind to start this turn, very interesting, of course.
No switches.
From Ryota.
No switches, just Tectonic Rages coming out from Garchomp. Sam recognizing that he needs to start putting out some offensive threat immediately if he's going to have a chance of protecting that Circuitry and protecting the Garchomp via offense.
Yep, and with the Tapu Fini in the back, that's something that's going to really, really enjoy the Tailwind that was just set up by this Whimsicott.
Yep.
It looks like
and the lack of Aurora Veil.
Maybe allowing both of his Pokemon to get knocked out here and just bring in his 2 remaining Pokemon in the chance that they can sweep under Tailwind.
Well,
Circuitry isn't going to knock out the Whimsicott for him, though, is of course just going to leave it in play.
Just wants the Tail Glow here. Ryota now does have the option to bring in the Tapu Fini and then boost up that Whimsicott's Nature Power into a Moonblast.
And that Moonblast will be really good against...
We saw how much damage it dealt last game.
Yes, it does so much. And that means that he now has 2 Pokemon providing a good offensive threat. He needed to bring Tapu Fini in.
Choice Specs Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini, a Pokemon you don't expect to be dishing out the damage. Protect coming up from the Garchomp. Sam protecting his Pokemon here. And we are going to see Ryota going on the offensive with the Moonblast into the Circuitry.
That's the nature power.
A lot of damage.
He's called it right.
Another Moonblast!
He called it. The Protect was telegraphed by Sam, and he's able to get it. He gets the knockout on a turn where Garchomp protected, keeping itself over safe. The next turn, this Garchomp is going to be able to get knocked out by Tapu Fini because it just protected. Sam is now looking at a double protect, and this weakened Ninetales
can't do anything.
It's going to get picked up by the Whimsicott. Ryota just has to pick the right targets with the right Pokemon. Whimsicott using Prankster, not going to be worried about the Mandibuzz and its Dark typing this time. He has to use Whimsicott to beat the Ninetales because it moves with the benefit of Prankster.
There's the Nature Power again.
Turning into Moonblast.
Moonblast on the field. Ryota Otsubo this turn proving that 2016 was a fluke. Japan is back.
Tapu Fini to round it out.
Tapu Fini, Choice Specs Tapu Fini with the Moonblast onto Garchomp. A one-hit KO. Ryota Otsubo is your 2017 Masters World Champion.
Fantastic adaptation over the course of the set from Ryota there. Game 1, a little bit bruising for him, but fantastic plays in both Game 2 and 3. Learned a little bit in Game 2, made a mistake in the beginning of Game 3, but that wasn't enough to stop him. He had so much gas left in the tank tank that he was able to make those perfect predictions, including the double target on Circuitry at the end there.
But Paul doesn't want to stop just now. He's so close to realizing that dream that you were talking about. He's one best-of-3 set away from winning the World Championships, but Emilio's not going to make it any easier for him, and it's going to be a great set. I think we are finally ready to get into this World Championship Finals.
It is game 1 of our Masters Division Finals here. Best-of-3 set, Emilio Forbes versus Paul Ruiz. Both players, extensive planning and preparation going into this first game. Both players having taken some time to think out their game plan. Both think it's going to be a very even matchup here. And really, this first turn, Emilio running that Mega Gengar team, going to be so important not to fall behind early.
Yeah, this turn 1 is going to be incredibly important here. Emilio has led Gengar nearly throughout the entire course of the tournament, and he does have this Perish Song capability, so once again, we do see the Gengar here. Not too much of a surprise, but once that Gengar Mega Evolves and potentially sets up a Perish Song, you're trapped in for 3 turns, and so Paul knows that he has to play around that these next couple of turns, and his lead is definitely a pretty strong one here to counter right from the get-go.
Absolutely. Paul Ruiz leading that Gastrodon and Salamence. Emilio, when we spoke to him before the match, said that Gastrodon was going to be the biggest threat on Paul's team, and it's right there on turn 1.
Of course, Emilio probably brought the Tapu Bulu in this game to counter the Gastrodon. I wouldn't be too surprised to see it coming here, but it's actually going to be Incineroar to cycle out a Fake Out.
Yeah, just double intimidates off onto that Salamence as well, but Incineroar able to exert some Fake Out pressure against Paul's Pokemon. And a big deal for stalling turns of Perish Song, getting those free turns as much as possible. Mega Salamence is the choice from Paul's side. Going to go ahead and boost up the power of Salamence, get that Aerialate ability to make sure that it can hit for flying type damage in the future should that Tapu Bulu come out. Mega Gengar on the field immediately from Emilio, trapping in the Gastrodon and Salamence. And Paul Ruiz going ahead and neutralizing one of those Intimidates on the Salamence with the Dragon Dance, boosting its speed, boosting its attack. Gengar sets up a substitute, though, going to be protected from an attack from Paul. And it looks like Gastrodon's just going to go right ahead with a Z Crystal boosted attack here. If that's into the substitute, that's bad news for Paul.
Yeah, he'll at least be able to break the substitute, but that's not why you want to commit this early on in the game. So let's see who it targets. If he called the Incineroar switch in, would have been incredible, but I think still okay here. At least you now break the substitute and your Salamence is guaranteed to be faster than a Gengar. But like you mentioned, the Cyclave Intimidates, I think that's one thing that's really difficult for Paul's team to deal with here. He only has 2 special attackers. It's likely he does have that Tapu Koko in the back, but Gengar has to worry about attacks from both Gastrodon and Salamence right now.
Yeah, really difficult to pick which Pokemon you want to fake out this turn. If you're Emilio, go straight for the Gastrodon. Salamence showing double edge with that boost. Is enough, picks it up. Paul Ruiz has broken the trap. Mega Gengar goes down. Salamence takes damage from the recoil, and Gastrodon flinching from that fake out, but huge threat off the field on Emilio's side. Mega Gengar not able to set the trap, not able to set the Perish Song. Gonna need this Latias to do some work in this game to make up for that Mega Gengar. Yeah, no Tapu Bulu, which means that Gastrodon gets to go up against a Latias, an Incineroar, and a Landorus. Loves that matchup. Incineroar switching out for the Mega Salamence. Paul will be protecting that Pokemon on his side. Gets the Intimidate off onto Emilio's Incineroar as well and sets up Fake Out pressure for himself in the next turn.
Did he
Landorus on the switch in. Both Pokemon on Emilio's side. Super weak to this Gastrodon. Hoping to bait out an Earth Power from the Gastrodon. And it's an Ice Beam from the Latias. Gonna deal some damage to that Incineroar. Very little bit of damage. And it's an Ice Beam from Gastrodon!
That's an Ice Beam! That's it!
On the Landorus! Gastrodon! Free damage on that Landorus! 4 times super effective, hanging on with just a sliver of health there.
This is really tricky here. I mean, Paul could fake out the Landorus relatively free and get a switch in here, as we will do so.
Yeah, switching in the Snorlax, Emilio does have the option of using that Psychium Z on his Latias for some big damage, but instead just going to go for the Protect this turn. Does not want to get faked out on either of his Pokemon. Double Protect coming out, so Snorlax gets in for absolutely free. Incineroar just going to with that fake out into the Landorus Protect, but Paul Ruiz has set up a position where he now has that Snorlax out, able to tank damage from both the Landorus and the Latias pretty easily.
It doesn't even need a setup. It can just go for attacks. You know, Landorus is already so low as is, and we're going to see Incineroar switch out to Psycho and Intimidate back in. Also, you want to conserve that for an endgame potentially against the Latias.
Yeah, absolutely, and that Gastrodon is already exerting so much pressure on both of Emilio's Pokemon. Will take an Ice Beam from the Latias on the switch, and Gastrodon is pretty bulky here. Looks like we are going to see another Tectonic Rage coming out, this time from Emilio's Landorus. Would be big if it hit the Gastrodon on the switch-in, but Snorlax protecting will be able to defend against most of the damage.
Yeah, that's a great turn for Paul there once again. Does guard the Gastrodon, but I think Paul doesn't mind this turn too much because now you know that there is no immediate threat to the Snorlax. No Z-move pressure from either Pokemon. Gastrodon will go down, but it has done its work in this game. I mean, being able to get that Ice Beam while putting on so much pressure. More importantly, now the Snorlax is so much more difficult to deal with. I think both Snorlax and Gastrodon major threats from Paul's team, especially if you eliminate the Gengar and don't have to worry about Tapu Bulu. Now, the Intimidate comes against the Landorus. Latias is even less useful here, and Snorlax puts on immense pressure against both Pokemon. Could considering setting up, but maybe you just go for damage at this point.
Yeah, you have Incineroar out on the field with fake out pressure. Pretty easy to get a Belly Drum off here if you're Paul Ruiz, but yeah, like you mentioned, may just be best to go for immediate damage. Catch Pokemon like this Incineroar on the switch-in. The Intimidate will be hitting both Paul Ruiz's Incineroar and the Snorlax, dropping their attack a single stage, making the switch-in a little bit safer. Fake out will come out from Paul onto the Latias, so no damage coming out from Emilio, and a free Belly Drum, absolutely free Belly Drum from that Snorlax. Going to go ahead and maximize its attack, negating the Intimidate entirely and healing all the way up with its Gluttony ability, eating that berry at 50%. Healing all the way back up, and that is an angry Snorlax on the field.
Latias and Incineroar right now can't really put on, once again, too much pressure in terms of damage, and Snorlax is just going to take a turn here to blow a potential fake out.
Yeah, Snorlax just going to go ahead and protect this turn so it does not get faked out. Emilio predicting that protect will go ahead and just try and get the fake out onto Incineroar to prevent Paul from making any moves of his own.
Paul is free to target either of these two Pokemon. Emilio has to hope for an Ice Beam freeze here on Snorlax if he wants any chance. And does he get the freeze here? Doesn't do very much damage, and no freeze!
No freeze, and a Snarl coming out from Paul Ruiz's Incineroar will drop the special attack of that Latias, making Latias so much less threatening, especially if it ends up being the only Pokemon left unable to switch out. But Paul's just going to play this one safe, play it a little slow, recover up that berry, and make sure that it can survive some more hits coming later. As Emilio switches Incineroar out for Landorus, cycling those Intimidates, but it's going to take a lot of cycling to get that Snorlax back into a reasonable position.
Yeah, you're pretty much hoping for maybe an Earthquake critical hit here, but I'm not even sure that will knock out the Snorlax, and so the Recycle just allows
it into a berry range.
Yeah, exactly. So Paul playing it safe here, and I think that's an excellent decision on his end. Also, it feels like Paul really came here with a concise game plan and has been executing it perfectly. Let's see if we get a freeze from Ice Beam right now.
Yeah, no protect, just another Ice Beam onto Snorlax.
No
Not
freeze.
enough to get the berry either, so this Earthquake will have an opportunity to crit on the Snorlax. Connects with both Incineroar and Snorlax, deals a lot of damage, gets the KO on Incineroar, but not on the Snorlax. Gets the crit, but on the wrong Pokemon. Snorlax just going to heal back up with the berry and fire off of frustration into Emilio's side.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be a guaranteed knockout, presumably targeting down the Landorus, but let's see.
Ooh, it's going to be the Latias.
Yeah, going to go for Latias actually, just to probably avoid any potential freeze. Yeah,
and makes it much more safe for Salamence to come back in as the final Pokemon.
Absolutely. So I think either target there, honestly, a pretty good one. Ended up going for the Latias. Now you don't have to worry about the freeze chance, which I think is actually probably a bigger deal. Whereas with Landorus, now you have to worry maybe about Rock Slide flinches, but at least, like you mentioned, you do have the speed advantage completely here with Salamence.
All right, so no more switching out of Intimidates on Emilio's side. We'll have to be dealing with this +4 Snorlax. Does get the Intimidate off onto Salamence, but being able to just double protect away the fake out pressure. Looks like Emilio wants to go directly into game 2, realizing he has no outs here, and Paul Ruiz, just like that, is up 1-0 in the Masters World Championship Finals. 1 game away from bringing the trophy to Latin America, to Ecuador.
That Salamence is really, really strong. I think Salamence Gastrodon a really clever lead there. One way you could potentially threaten that a little bit more is maybe leading the Latias, because that does threaten the Salamence immediately with some damage output. You also actually threaten Gastrodon at least with some consistent psychic damage as well. So we'll see how Emilio adjusts here, because Paul came with a really good game plan in that first game.
All right, well, game 2 of our Masters Division Finals here. Emilio Forbes versus Paul Ruiz. We saw in turn 1 just how important the lead combination was. Paul able to snipe out that Gengar really early on, sticks with what he knows works, Salamence and Gastrodon. Emilio making the decision to switch up the leads just a little bit, still sticking with the Gengar lead, but bringing out the Latias this time to immediately threaten that Salamence.
I really like that adjustment by Emilio, and I think that's what he should have gone for now, because the threat of Latias means that Salamence cannot go for a necessarily free Dragon Dance. You have to be worried about the Ice Beam coming out immediately.
Able to launch off a Shattered Psyche should it decide to just try and fire down that Gastrodon that really controlled the game for Paul. Looks like Paul's going to protect the Salamence and switch in the Snorlax in the face of that Gengar that we know Snorlax is unable to actually damage, only having Frustration as an attack. So Emilio able to Mega Evolve Gengar now, trapping in the Gastrodon and the Snorlax, going for a Protect this time, not a substitute. Latias also going to go for a Protect here, just trying to scout out what Paul was going to do. And it looks like going to bait out another of these Z moves from the Gastrodon. This time not hitting into the substitute, but will be hitting into a Protect.
Yeah, last time around it did hit into the substitute, but what's more important is it actually does get chip damage enough where probably another Earth Power or that -1 Double Edge will knock out. So even though it's not the knockout that you might necessarily want, it's actually still a pretty good turn here where you do a lot of damage, and that does put the pressure on against Gengar. You see that almost does have to
double.
Oh!
A critical hit through the Protect, so dealing more damage than the substitute last time around, but crucially, that Snorlax is now trapped in here with Gengar. At least Gengar and Latias both use their Protect, so no safe ability for Emilio to stick around with Gengar, set the trap, and continue to boost that way.
Ooh,
just going to go on the attack, just damage, no Perish Song coming out. Deals a good amount to Gastrodon and gets the special defense drop, which is going to be huge for this Shattered Psyche coming out from Latias.
Yeah, it should knock out the Gastrodon. This is presumably a double target there, especially after that special defense drop, but if Paul here is going for a belly drum, maybe it's actually not the end of the world. At least he does set up the Snorlax, and now that threatens everything on the Latias side. You know that Gengar is already the one Pokemon that can resist the normal type attack, so you can consistently target those returns into the Latias slot, and Gastrodon will go
There it
down.
goes. Gastrodon goes down to the Shattered Psyche. Emilio takes the Pokemon lead in Game 1, but Paul will be able to go ahead and set up the belly drum on his Snorlax. And actually, the interesting part about having the Snorlax and the Mega Gengar out is they can't actually damage each other.
Right.
The only option for Gengar to get that Snorlax off the field is the Perish Song. So really going to have to see if Emilio is going to be able to play around that, but that KO means that Paul will be able to switch in the Incineroar, threatening potentially both the Mega Gengar and the Latias.
I think Incineroar definitely the correct Pokemon to bring out in this situation. If you bring out Salamence, you're at threat. If Latias protects, they can just Ice Beam you the next turn and you're trapped in. So Perish Song will actually lose Emilio the game because Paul's Snorlax is slower.
Well, Emilio is going to go ahead and retreat the Mega Gengar for his own Incineroar, getting fake out pressure on the field for himself and intimidates off onto both the enemy Incineroar and Snorlax. But again, when Belly Drum maxes out your attack, it's going to take a lot to get that back under control. Incineroar will use Flare Blitz into what was the Gengar, now the opposing Incineroar on Emilio's side, dealing a little bit of damage, while Latias protects itself from this Snorlax's frustration.
Paul playing it safe this turn, ended up not going for something like a Recycle maybe to get the berry back, but I think perfectly reasonable play.
Crucially, keeping that Mega Gengar around, which makes that Snorlax much less scary. Always has the opportunity to switch the Gengar in to protect a Pokemon on Emilio's side. Actually just going to switch the Latias out for the Landorus, going to get Intimidates off again onto both of Paul's Pokemon. but leaving that slot open to an attack from the Snorlax. Double switch, so Mega Gengar will come back in here, protecting the Incineroar. Just going to go ahead and set the trap again. Snarl comes out again from Paul's Incineroar, deals a little bit of damage to Gengar, drops the special attack, meaning that Gengar is really not threatening anything but a Perish Song here.
Where's the frustration going? Oh, into the Gengar.
Emilio making the right call. Frustration into Gengar.
This is definitely still a pretty even board position for both players.
We're basically in the same position as we were a couple of turns ago, last time Gengar was here, but with the Landorus out instead of the Latias. Emilio just trying to chip away at that attack stat with all of these Intimidates. Got it down to +3 now.
Yep.
Still pretty strong, but getting a little bit weaker. Landorus will go ahead and U-turn out, so switching out, able to now switch the Gengar back in with that U-turn, protecting the Landorus for one more turn and making sure that Paul does not get any damage out. Has to be the Gengar in that slot. No other option. Can't risk switching in the Latias. So Paul, Incineroar does go for another Flare Blitz. This time it's going to target down the Incineroar a second time, dealing even less damage than it did the first time. And Snorlax is so frustrated. Emilio is just dancing around Paul right now with all these switches, these U-turns, and making solid use of Mega Gengar's immunity to the normal type frustration.
Yeah, these it's not every day you see a Snorlax get intimidated so much to the point where maybe it actually won't be able to get those guaranteed knockouts, but really, really smart cycling here from Emilio thus far, and he's been able to negate so many attacks, and there's the Perish Song finally.
Finally gets the Perish Song off onto the Incineroar and the Snorlax. Incineroar does flinch. Snorlax will be able to fire off a frustration, this time actually connecting with the Pokemon.
Yes.
Finally connects with the Pokemon with that frustration, knocks out Incineroar, but now there is a timer on the field. Snorlax needs to get more Pokemon knockouts if it's going to be effective here.
Yeah, I genuinely was wondering, at +3, if you have no attack investment in Snorlax, maybe you actually don't even knock out the Incineroar, but it does manage to pick up that knockout. But another Intimidate coming out, meaning that the Snorlax now is only a +2 attack. And
just a Sword Stance.
Yes, exactly. And with that Perish Song out on the field now, you are on a timer with both of these two Pokemon, I think.
Gengar free to switch out to protect, or just protect to stall the Perish Song, while Landorus can U-turn all over the place, all kinds of shenanigans. Emilio just going to start the double protects up so that he can start counting down those Perish Song turns. And the Snarl's going into nothing, and Snorlax, his frustration, also into nothing.
This next turn is going to be really huge. I think it's more or less actually going to decide this game specifically here, because there's so much going on right now, right? Both Pokemon protected, so you can freely target potentially both. So is Snorlax at +2 going to be able to knock out that Landorus? We see Substitute here.
Substitute coming out from Gengar will be protected from an attack. Landorus' U-turn into the Incineroar deals a lot of damage with a critical hit, but that Substitute is going to protect the Gengar from a lot of types of damage.
But not the
Oh! Latias is the switch-in front of the Incineroar, and the Incineroar! The Snarl comes through!
The Substitute!
Goes through the Substitute, sound attacks not affecting the Substitute, knocks out the Mega Gengar, gets some damage on the Latias, gets a special special attack drop, and the frustration finally coming out. All of that.
That's a knockout! Paul Ruiz can taste the World Championship. What an incredible play there. He gets it. It's exactly what he needed to do there. And, with the option of Snarl actually going through Substitute, that saved Paul the game there. If it didn't, then Gengar gets an extra turn there, and the Perish Trap most likely goes down, and Paul loses both of his Pokemon. But perfect play there by Paul to get a double knockout. And despite all the Intimidates, despite all these switches by Emilio, Paul Ruiz is now one turn away from winning this World Championship, and he must be able to taste it. So incredibly well played despite Emilio's switches.
Paul Ruiz has given up so much this year for a taste at the championship. He knew all along semifinals weren't enough. He wanted to bring home the cup, bring home the championship title back to Latin America for the first time in the video game championships. Intimidate from Salamence will make sure that Landorus not able to do much of anything at all. The Perish Song finally getting the KO onto Snorlax, and a second Intimidate coming in from the Incineroar that switched out. Landorus now at -2 attack, facing down Salamence and Incineroar with fake out pressure and a protect that was just used.
All you need to do is click fake out, go for a Dragon Dance. That Salamence will be able to knock out the Landorus. You can see the emotion in Paul's face, but I gotta say, wow, this second game was so exciting where I felt like Emilio made some really incredible adjustments, and it felt like he had Paul's number for multiple turns with all those switches. But that's the thing, right? Once a Snorlax sets up, it's still, even with all these intimidates, going to be able to do so much damage.
Oh, no double protect.
There's the fake out coming out, most likely a Dragon Dance from the Salamence as we do see, and that effectively should seal up the game. So incredibly played here by Paul, and I think he came with a masterful game plan, right? He ended up bringing Snorlax into
There it is.
And wow.
There it is. Emilio going to go ahead and forfeit this match and wake up, world, because Paul Ruiz is your first ever Latin American world champion.
He used at the Japanese National Championships. Both players did not actually face off against each other there, but clearly Hirofumi has done his homework.
Yeah, a big question here is what speed control are both players going to opt for? Is it going to be the Trick Room? Is it going to be the Tailwind? Trick Room probably a little bit easier to bring if you expect your opponent to bring the Tailwind. I think Tapu Fini here, an absolute essential Pokemon for a Naoto to bring because that's probably his best means of dealing with the opposing Umbreon. Umbreon actually gives Snack Attack, Groudon, Lunala, and Salamence an immense amount of trouble. So I think a lot of this obviously will dictate how the Groudons match up against each other, but Tapu Fini and Umbreon will both be critical Pokemon for the trainers here. So Naoto taking a little bit more time to decide here. I think we'll also have to see how the Groudon speeds match up against each other. In this kind of weird composition where you have both Trick Room and Tailwind, often the speed stats are going to be very specific.
Here we go. Both players have made their selections, and they're getting ready to jump into the match right now. Give it up for both of these players here.
Here we go.
This is it. This match is going to determine the world champion here at the in VGC Masters, as both players now get ready to send out their leads. Hirofumi leads with Groudon and Duskmane Necrozma, as Naoto leads with the Salamence and Lunala.
So Salamence and Lunala here having the option to potentially go for a Trick Room or a Tailwind initially. Big Intimidate off there on the opposing Groudon as well. Definitely makes its firepower significantly reduced. So there's so much speed control here out on the field immediately. Some of the strongest Pokemon on both players' side. Of course, the Lunala does have the advantage in terms of having a big, super effective attack off against the opposing Necrozma. I do have to watch for a potential Moongeist Beam. We've seen throughout the course of this tournament, it's not the Z move there on Lunala. Setting up Tailwind in front of a Necrozma, which can Trick Room, is definitely pretty risky. So maybe switching out into the Groudon in the back.
Yeah, and Groudon on Hirofumi's side will switch out, does not want to stay in, take some big damage from that Salamence or that...
Oh,
here comes the Umbreon! Umbreon takes the field here. Oh boy, the crowd favorite as Salamence reacts to it. It's going to go ahead and Mega Evolve here, so going to get that aerial ability and be able to dish some big damage out over onto the opposing side of the field. Duskmane Necrozma just wants to protect, does not want to get hit with a possible Moongeist Beam here from this Lunala, as Lunala does land an attack into that Duskmane Necrozma's protect. And here comes Salamence with a Hyper Voice, hits into that Umbreon, does no damage at all. Umbreon is so bulky.
Lunala actually opted the Moongeist Beam, of course, Salamence being faster with the Mega Evolution. So Lunala coming out, launching Moongeist Beam, and Umbreon really taking those attacks quite nicely there.
No damage at all.
Yeah, Naoto really hoping to chunk the Groudon immediately, of course, because this is kind of a Groudon mirror match. Now Umbreon actually putting on a lot of offensive pressure with potential foul plays on either Pokemon. No speed control coming out, and Salamence now definitely in kind of an awkward spot. Won't be able to do too much damage with the Hyper Voice or Double Edge just to switch it out. And I think Groudon definitely an excellent Pokemon here to put on pressure with Precipice Blades.
Groudon's Precipice Blades will be able to do some major damage to that Duskmane Necrozma over on Hirofumi's side, but does also grant that Umbreon access to the Sunlight, which will allow Moonlight to heal back so much more HP than Naoto would actually enjoy seeing that Umbreon healing back. Here we go now, moving into the rest of the turn. Lunala again content to go for a Moongeist Beam here, hitting down what should be that Duskmane Necrozma to get some damage out onto that side of the field, and does good damage right there. Duskmane Necrozma hangs on with about 25% of its hit points remaining. And here comes a berry from this Lunala. That is going to be a Colbert berry, reducing the amount of damage that this foul play is going to do. With that Chowcher, that does nothing for a quadruple super effective hit there, as Dustmane Necrozma now gets to move, sets up a Trick Room here.
Yeah, so the Trick Room goes up, making the dynamic of this matchup really interesting. We'll have to see how all of these Pokemon on train, either trainer kind of wants to set up Trick Room.
Here we go now, moving into the next turn. Lunala does not want to take another foul play from that Umbreon, switches out, trying to pivot and deal with this Trick Room as Tapu Fini takes the field. And as you mentioned, Aaron, that Tapu Fini is going to be big to try to deal with this Umbreon on Hirofumi's side.
All right, who moves first here? Looks like it will be the
Umbreon using Snarl. Gonna drop the special attack stat of the Groudon with a critical hit being dealt over there on the on Nyota's side of the field. That's gonna be important to that Tapu Fini. Won't be dealing as much damage, but that Groudon we've seen before. And here it is, a huge Fire Punch into that Dustmane Necrozma, gets the KO, and you know that's a physical Groudon, so that Snarl's not gonna matter at all.
Yeah, so opting for the Fire Punch instead of the more risky Precipice Blade just to get some guaranteed damage off. It's a big knockout there onto the Necrozma. Tapu Fini actually in a decent position right now. The Snarl is, however, a big deal. Means that,
of course, Snarl does drop that special attack stat, but even then, a Twinkle Tackle is going to be dealing a lot of damage as Nyoto's Groudon switches out.
Yeah, so not wanting to
takes the field here.
Yeah, not wanting to take a Precipice Blades there, perhaps knowing that his Groudon is faster. And
just the Moonblast though. Oh no, the Moonlight. Yeah, that's the Moonlight. Wrong moon move from my perspective there, as Umbreon heals back to full health. As and Nature's Madness from that Tapu Fini lands into Hirofumi's Groudon, dealing 50% damage right there. And wow, here's a Precipice Blades from that Primal Groudon, connects with that Tapu Fini, does good damage right there, bringing it down to a little under 50%.
With Trick Room being up, Salaman's also kind of in an awkward spot. Sure, he can go for a Hyper Voice, but it's really nothing to deal with this Umbreon right now. And yeah, Umbreon in a perfect position to succeed.
Ooh, Hirofumi here reacting, and it looks like it's going to be a foul play into that Salaman slot. Good damage dealt over to that. And it's the Dragon Claw! Salaman hangs on! So Salaman hangs on with just 2 hit points here and uses Hyper Voice, connecting with that Groudon and that Umbreon. Some damage over there, a critical hit, I believe, onto that Umbreon slot.
I mean, that's still an excellent read there. Doesn't get the knockout onto Salamence. Maybe you bring in the Lunala, but I mean, the Salamence really just isn't able to do very much right now. And yeah, Tapu Fini does pretty much have to switch out there, but whatever comes in is not going to appreciate taking a lot of damage here.
Yeah, and Lunala is the only Pokemon that can come in and take that switch, as Groudon on Hirofumi's side switches out as well. Hirofumi switches in the Tapu Lele, changing the terrain, as well as boosting Psychic-type moves. So that's one of the things about Tapu Lele. Great move right here from Hirofumi to switch in that Tapu Lele. A lot of these Tapu Lele tend to carry Choice Scarf, and with Trick Room expiring at the end of this turn, Tapu Lele will be able to have a speed advantage here. And here is a Snarl from that Umbreon, hits in that Salamence Protect, drops Lunala's special attack, which Lunala enjoys using here, and oh boy, Trick Room expires.
It's just really not threatened immensely right now and can really just choose to do whatever it wants.
Yeah, and Lunala, forced to protect, does not want to take another attack from that Umbreon foul play or even a Snarl. And here's a Psychic from that Tapu Lele, connects with that Salamence and gets KO, all 2 hit points right there, as Umbreon uses his turn to attack into that Lunala.
Yeah, so Tapu Lele revealing that it is quite speedy. Hirofumi has managed this so well. I mean, setting up Trick Room, getting Umbreon in the perfect position, getting these Snarls and foul plays off, and there is just nothing to deal with the Umbreon. Yeah, Groudon comes out, but once again, Lunala can't hit the Umbreon, and Groudon maybe can go for a Precipice Blaze or a Fire Punch. I don't even think that's enough to get the knockout. And of course, Umbreon can just consistently heal, so...
And also have his fast Pokemon take advantage of when that Trick Room expires.
Yeah, so let's see if there's a Protect coming out from the Groudon right now, maybe to bypass the Psychic. That was definitely a potential attack.
Not at all. Primal Groudon takes the field instead on Hirofumi's side as Lunala switches out, resetting the terrain for Nyoto's team. So the Misty Terrain is going to take effect here, probably allowing Groudon on Nyoto's side to be able to survive a Psychic from that Tapu Lele, but here comes a Fire Punch. Oh, into that Groudon side. Oh, not even enough to get the KO. Big survival right there, and a foul play from the Umbreon does so much damage to that Groudon. Who's going to be able to knock out each other's Groudons first? And here we go, coming into this turn, Groudon on Hirofumi's side protects itself, doesn't want to play a possible speed game here, and Groudon hits into Hirofumi's. No, yeah, Groudon actually hits into the ground on Hirofumi's side. Here's a twinkle tackle from that Tapu Fini.
Yeah, so looking like trying to just go for the safe target, not opting to risk a potential Precious Blaze here. Varium Z does come out. That is the best move to deal with the Umbreon. So yeah, no switch out from the Umbreon there into Tapu Lele means that it probably will go down here. Let's see if it will do enough damage I expect it to.
No snarls onto Naoto's side of the field. The twinkle tackle connects with that Umbreon, gets the KO. So that pesky Umbreon has been knocked out. And again, Naoto going for a Fire Punch here, just trying to target down into that ground, knowing that that Twinkle Tackle is about to KO that Umbreon anyways.
Let's see, though. That is the Choice Scarf Tapu Lele now returning to the field and having Psychic Terrain pressure, so able to do so much damage. We'll see what attack it chooses to lock itself into.
He's thinking so hard right now as that timer ticks and ticks away.
This is going to be such a big turn here.
Yo, Groudon protects himself, does not want to take that Psychic from the Tapu Lele at all, as Tapu Lele uses a move into that Groudon Protect, and here comes Hirofumi's Groudon.
Looks like the Groudon's faster. Yeah, it's going for Precious Blaze, and it connects with the Tapu Fini. That's absolutely huge.
Yeah, so that connects with that Tapu Fini and gets the KO from that range. So now it's down to both these players' last Pokemon in this exciting game one already, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely critical there, of course, with the Groudon on Hirofumi's end is actually faster than the Tapu Fini on Nyoto's end. Of course, Groudon, a naturally faster Pokemon, but very difficult to know based off the team compositions here, so that's a very, very big piece of information. Lunala comes out now, protect the Groudon, and then you force the 2v1 position in which you win. So let's see, is Groudon
gets the protect? Oh! He gets the double protect!
Oh my goodness!
Oh, and Tapu Lele forces Psychic in that Groudon's protect.
Lunala targeting though.
Lunala uses Moon Geist Beam here. What is this Moon Geist Beam going to target down? Some damage.
Oh, the opposing Groudon.
So safe play right there, yeah. So smart play right there. Just get the KO on that Groudon immediately.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were talking about, that right? Hirofumi could have potentially baited out that Moongeist Beam by going for Protect that turn. Then you force the 2v1 position. Maybe 2 Psychics under Psychic Train's enough to take it, but a big, big double Protect there. I'm not actually sure it ended up mattering there because a Moongeist Beam might just be able to knock out the Lunala. Let's see how much Psychic would have done to Lunala.
Oh, damage right there, but Lunala hangs on, so another Psychic is what is needed to be able to get the KO as Lunala's Moongeist Beam now crashes into that Tapu Lele, gonna deal some big, super effective damage here, and Tapu Lele just outright gets one hit KO. Naoto takes game one in a thrilling set. Wow, that was intense.
That was such a good game. It looked like Hirofumi had kind of board control right from the beginning, being able to set up that Trick Room, Umbreon coming in at the perfect position, being able to do all this damage with Snarl and foul play, but Naoto recognizing, I do need this Tapu Fini to threaten the Umbreon.
Fast. He still was able to maintain a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage with that Umbreon underspeeding almost everything over on Naoto's side of the field.
Yeah, I feel like the Umbreon, the Groudon, and the Necrozma are still definitely the right Pokemon to bring in here. So question is, do you bring in the Choice Scarf Tapu Lele again? That doesn't fit very well into the Trick Room strategy if you're opting to go for that. And of course, Lunala can take Psychics pretty well. So if you do bring the Trick Room strategy again, maybe you prioritize trying to knock out the Lunala earlier on, so then you're free to kind of just click Psychic on everything. I think certainly could be viable. I mean, Kangaskhan definitely could make a lot of sense here into the matchup as well. So let's see. Naoto is 1 game away from winning the World Championship, but Umbreon makes its appearance once again, this time as a lead.
Hirofumi leads Umbreon and over on the other side of the field, Naoto leads with Tapu Fini and the Lunala.
Yeah, I mean, I think having the Tapu Fini out against Umbreon while Trick Room's not up and with no Snarl out is such great board positioning here from Naoto, being able to threaten with that Varium Z immediately into the Umbreon.
That Groudon's probably the best switch, be able to take a resisted fairy type attack here as the turn progresses. Umbreon again forces switch out, doesn't want to risk getting one hit KO'd immediately, and there it is, the Groudon, as you mentioned, Aaron. Great call there, buddy.
Groudon coming in, I think really pretty much the only option there, it switches in obviously quite nicely into any fairy type attack. So the key question here is, did Naoto maybe predict this and not waste the Z move? I think Hirofumi might have been going with this lead intentionally to try to bait out the Z move, because if you can get it out immediately, that's such a big threat out of the way.
Yeah, and progressing with the rest of this turn, Dustmane Necrozma, Photon guys are into that Lunala, breaking that Shadow Shield right there. Not very effective damage at all, but the important part is it does get some chip damage out on that field as Lunala uses Moon Geist Beam here, targeting down that Dustmane and Crozman, and again, that does a lot of damage right there. Not enough to quite get the one-hit KO, but still getting as much damage out.
Oh!
And here comes the Nature's Madness!
What a great play there. Doesn't get baited, doesn't use the Z move. Of course, Umbreon there is going to switch out a lot of times, and even if it doesn't, you still get 50% of damage off, but great decision on Nyota's end not to go for the Z move. I think a lot of players might often tunnel vision in that position and just try to get that knockout immediately. Goes for a very, very safe Nature's Madness there, and getting that much damage off against Groudon is great. Nyota definitely winning the damage trade off this first turn. Once again, recognizes need to conserve Tapu Fini to deal with the Umbreon in the back. Salaman's such a great switch in here to reduce the firepower from Groudon, and yeah, the Shadow Shield was broken on Lunala's end, but what's Hirofumi able to do in terms of damage right now, especially given like Groudon is intimidated?
Yeah, not that many offensive options here for Hirofumi as another Photon Geyser is used. Oh no, sorry, an Ultra Burst here as Ultra Necrozma takes the field. You're gonna get a lot of great stat boost there and be able to dish a lot of damage, but instead Hirofumi using this turn to just protect itself. Doesn't want to get hit with another Moon Geist Beam as the Lunala uses that Moon Geist Beam into that slot. And here's a Fire Punch connecting with that Lunala, boosted by that Sunlight.
Depending on how Salamence was trained, perhaps they can actually survive it. Obviously, what can go for something like a Hyper Voice or a Double Edge just to get a knockout. And Hirofumi actually going for the switch out here. Oh, but Nyota reacting positively. Did he maybe predict this?
Here is that Umbreon, and Salamence now Mega Evolves, getting that Air Raid ability as well as boosting its speed, one of the fastest Pokemon in the format, as well as being one of the hardest hitters in this format as well. And
the Tailwind!
Salamence using Tailwind, gonna double the speed of the Pokemon on Nyota's side of the field as Lunala uses Moon Geist Beam here. Can get some great damage dealt onto the Groudon on Hirofumi's side, hitting first.
Wow!
Yeah, Groudon hangs on Hirofumi's side though, and here's another Fire Punch, but again, those Intimidates are so important because Lunala hangs on.
I think Nyota has played this game really, really well so far.
Yeah, he's playing this board position game extremely well right here, saving that Tapu Fini for later on as the Groudon on Hirofumi's side switches out. Doesn't want to get KO'd yet, and Hirofumi sends out his own Salamence here with an Intimidate onto that Lunala. Not going to matter too much. The Intimidate might matter on that Salamence depending on if it does know Double Edge or not, as Lunala protects itself. Doesn't want to take a foul play from the Umbreon, and here is a Hyper Voice just going for consistent spread damage here, doing good damage to that Salamence and chipping away at that Umbreon, and there is that, looks like it's, nope, just a foul play right into that Lunala slot.
Yeah, no, I think Star might have missed the Salamence actually there on Nyota's end, so of course he hasn't shown his last Pokemon yet, and if it is that Groudon, we'll be able to put on a lot of pressure. Salamence here probably wanting to reset that attack drop from the Intimidate, switching out, and Tapu Fini actually coming in because it can take attacks from the opposing Salamence decently well.
Yeah, and Salamence on Hirofumi's side switches out as well, saving that Intimidate for later, and the Groudon takes the field, but it is so heavily damaged right now, any attack will even be able to get the KO, besides the Nature's Madness, I guess, but here comes the rest of the turn. How is this turn going to play out? Lunala uses Wide Guard, preventing possible snarls, so great defensive move right there to prevent but here's a foul play from that Umbreon into that Tapu Fini. A critical hit, not going to matter much at all because of Tapu Fini's low attack stat.
However, I mean, regardless, I think Nyota really has a lot of control right now. Are there any protections?
No protects at all. Lunala uses Moon Geist Beam here. Most likely going to target down that Groudon. Does target down that Groudon. Gets the KO. Critical hit again. That did not matter at all. Tapu Fini now gets to make a move, and it is a twinkle tackle.
Oh, such a great
that
call.
Umbreon, no snarls at all. We've seen it do so much damage to that Umbreon already, and this might be 2 quick knockouts for Nyoto here. What a game this is. This Tapu Fini is out on the field at the right time. Both games so far, being able to deal with this Umbreon that would otherwise give Nyoto such a bad matchup here. And there goes Umbreon, a big knockout there. And now Nyoto is only 2 KOs away from becoming the world champion here, Aaron.
Yeah, he hasn't even shown his last Pokemon. I feel like he has played this game perfectly. Right from the get-go, amazing lead. potentially calling the Umbreon lead there, putting on so much pressure. And a lot of how he's played this game is kind of methodical, right? You kind of distribute damage around. You don't just go for big knockouts because the team is quite a bulky team. So kind of chip away, get a Nature's Madness off here, do a little bit of Hyper Voice or Moongeist Beam there. Very, very good against these Dragon-type Pokemon. I think Naoto might want to try to bait out the Z move from the Ultra Necrozma, maybe go for a Protect here on Tapu Fini. He still, of course, has 2 Pokemon in the back, one of them being that Salamence.
Yeah, as Salamence on Hirofumi's side, Mega Evolves now, getting that Air Raid ability, and here we go.
Yep,
Tapu Fini protects itself here. Doesn't want to take a possible light that burns the sky from the Ultra Necrozma over on the other side. And there's a double edge from that. Mega Salamence connects with that Lunala and gets the KO. So Hirofumi clawing back here.
Does he commit the Z move? Oh, there it is. He does. That's a very, very big bait there. Being able to get that out means that it's a lot more difficult for Hirofumi to just get an effective one-hit KO here onto Tapu Fini. So very, very nice protect there. It was a really, really tough mind game, I think, from both players then, but Naoto definitely getting the better end of the trade. I think had Hirofumi called it correctly, he'd actually still not be in the worst of positions, but Naoto having an early lead, kind of running away with it, and he still has 1 Pokemon, of course, waiting in the back, but not that Salamence, presumably Groudon. However, just being able to get the Z move out here, that's the strongest move on Hirofumi's team. Very, very nice resource management there from Naoto's end, as that's a very, very big move committed.
Yeah, it's still some chip damage through that Protect on that Tapu Fini. Wondering if it will put it in range for a Photon Geyser to try to get the KO next turn. You know, this is more of an offensive Tapu Fini, so it probably does not invest too much in bulk. Although, you know, Tapu Fini is naturally a bulky Pokemon, so how much is that Photon Geyser going to be able to do the next turn as Naoto now tries to see how he can easily close this game out and win this World Championship title here.
Yeah, for Hirofumi, at least he has the 2 fastest Pokemon on his team and 2 of the strongest Pokemon with Groudon coming in here. The main thing here is that we've seen that this Groudon actually carries that Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw actually will be able to just get a knockout onto either of these Pokemon. And the thing here from Hirofumi is that, like, for example, you won't be able to just knock out both Pokemon here. I think Naoto most certainly will be able to get a relatively free knockout onto one of the opposing Pokemon. And because he has the Pokemon advantage, all he needs to do is basically trade Pokemon each turn. For Hirofumi, I mean, you can go for example, like a double edge on the Tapu Fini, but then the Photon Geyser won't be enough to knock out the Groudon, so maybe you hope for a Hyper Voice critical hit, but no, it's just a double edge.
Just a double edge from that Salamence connects with that Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini gets KO'd. Now, what is this Ultra Necrozma going to be able to do to this Groudon here? Or is Groudon just going to be able to seal the deal here for Naoto? And
here's the Earth Power. Is there a critical hit?
How much damage does it do? How much damage? Groudon hangs on! Groudon hangs on. There's a special defense drop right there as Groudon now moves here. Uses Fire Paw. Oh, no, the Dragon Claw connects with that Ultra Necrozma and gets the KO.
So close to knocking out the Groudon there, but the way it's trained, the bulk allows it to survive, and now it is a 2v1 matchup. I mean, Naoto, yeah, just needed to get 1 knockout here. Salamence comes out still very, very healthy. There is pretty much no way here, I think, for Hirofumi to be able to win this one. Even a Hyper Voice critical hit won't be enough to get a knockout there. His win condition that last turn was pretty much, I need to get a critical hit. No critical hit comes out.
The last turn of the game, most likely, and there is a Hyper Voice from the Salamence on Hirofumi's side. Gets the KO on the ground, but here comes Naoto Salamence with an attack. Here's a double edge, and Naoto Mizobuchi is your 2019 Pokemon Video Game World Champion. Clean 2-0 set. What an exciting set between both of these players. Wow. Amazing play, amazing display of trying to maintain that board position, being able to keep that offensive up, and Hirofumi had his back to the wall the entire way in Game 2.